Week 11 kicks off from Hamilton, where the Elks are in town, still looking for their first win of the season. Both teams with some big changes off the field recently, hoping it's enough to get both clubs back on track. It's Edmonton and Hamilton coming up on TSN.
I spoke to Gino this morning. I want to give him a pass. I said, it's been a while, Gino. Just go out there and do what you can do. He said, forget that. I feel 100% athletically. I'm ready to go make some plays.
Taylor Powell, 531 yards, 1 TD, and 3 interceptions in his play this year. This is his third start, guys. It's his second OC. He's breaking in a shiny new offensive coordinator. Let's see if he can turn it around and get a win for the Ticats.
Trey Ford was starting for the Waterloo Warriors just 2 years ago. Tonight, he's going to try to lead the Elks out of the 0-9 abyss they are clawing their way out of.
Abyss?
Abyss.
That is some harsh words. Well, the last time these two teams met, this man was unstoppable. James Butler, 14 carries, 127 yards, a TD back on July the 13th. These two teams combining for 66 points in that game. Hopefully another high-scoring affair tonight. If Mother Nature decides to play nice, the radar doesn't look great so far, but that can all change, can't it? Welcome to Week 11 in the CFL. Kate Burness alongside Davis Sanchez, Jim Barker, and Paul LaFelice as we get set for the Elks taking on the Hamilton Tiger Cats. We will get to these guys' thoughts on the game in just a moment, but first let's go to Tim Hortons Field and join our Matthew Shinetti. And Matthew, it has been a tumultuous time for the Elks, especially off the field, making headlines with Victor Kiwi leaving the team mutually between the Elks and himself, but also for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who have made some changes when it comes to their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, it feels like a foregone conclusion, Kate, that Scott Milanovich would be part of the coaching staff at some point when he showed up at Ticats training camp. But he told me just before the game today that this was never part of the plan and that he does feel bad for Tommy Condell. And he was actually at his family farm in Pennsylvania when he got a call from Orlando Steinauer, who was on his 2012 Argos coaching staff, as you will remember. And he told me I couldn't turn down a call from a friend. So it was a quick drive to the closest airport, and he's been here. Now, when you take a look at the Ticats offense tonight, it's not going to look dissimilar from Tommy Condell's offense. Milanovich has only had 3 days really to coach up Taylor Powell, to look at what he has in terms of his pieces around the offense. But he likes Powell. This is not the first time that Milanovich has been around a young quarterback. He was with Zach Collaros, of course, and Trevor Harris in 2012 and 13. He wanted to get the read of Taylor Powell. He says, I like his intensity. I can go ahead and push him a little bit. We'll see how that looks tonight. With Trey Ford, there was so much talk. You mentioned off-the-field stuff, Kate, with Trey Ford's comments about what the offense and maybe it should have done in that game against Winnipeg. I asked him if he had any conversations with Chris Jones, who basically had, kind of a stay-in-your-lane comment and response in the media. Trey Ford said everything is okay, and he's looking forward, as Davis mentioned, that Gino Lewis is back tonight. And Davis, I did speak to him as well, and more from a leadership perspective. Everyone recently, and the team has been going up to Gino Lewis as this 0-9 season keeps going and asking what is going on. And Gino says, from a veteran's perspective, everybody keep it at a level. If we are up 22 as we were against the Bombers, well, just keep it at a level. If we're down, just keep it at a level. I'm going to have to keep it at a level because, as you were mentioning, the weather, Kate, it started to rain just a little bit, and everyone's favorite counter this year, who's going to have more rain delays, myself or Kenzie Lalonde. We'll watch the weather. They say around 9 o'clock it could get wet here, Kate.
Okay, so Matthew Shinetti is currently at 3, and I think Kenzie's at 2, so we're going to keep an eye on this one tonight. But that's okay. You know what? What's the worst that we have? We talk a little extra football, but let's see what Mother Nature has in store. But when it comes to the Edmonton Elks, for that game last week, we were all shocked after the first half, let's say that, and they just couldn't pull it off. It was the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They always find ways to win. But now they have a little bit of momentum from that game coming into this one, and nothing against the Tiger Cats, but against a much weaker opponent, Lapo.
I don't know if the Eskimos can win, but I do know that the Elks can win, but I think the Ticats can give them the game. This is the most penalized team in the Canadian Football League. Well, here's what happens. 2 weeks ago against Montreal, 5 procedure penalties on offense. That is before the ball is even snapped, guys. You cannot do that. The next thing, they take a pass interference in the end zone that gets an easy touchdown in the third quarter, and in the fourth quarter. This is a close game 2 weeks ago. Montreal, 24-20. They roughed the kicker with 7 minutes left. Next play, Montreal scores a touchdown. So they have Hamilton's got to worry about themselves and make sure they do the things to be successful.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Hamilton has so many self-inflicted wounds.
Yep.
I mean, they have their best, the defense they thought they would start the season with, they have that tonight for the first time all year. So they ought to get a little bit of a pump from that. And then, again, Scott Milanovic in for Tommy Condell, it gives you a natural pump. I mean, Tommy Condell is one of the best offensive coordinators in this league, bar none, including Scott Milanovic. But sometimes a change is going to give you a bump. And I think those things are going to make it very, very difficult for the Elks to come in here with Trey Ford after his game last week, which was good at times, threw for 75% completions. But again, can he carry that when they're preparing for him?
With these two teams, the biggest surprise for me has been defensively. We look at, you mentioned Tommy and OC, and you look at the best coordinators and some of the best defensive coordinators over the last decade. It's been these two teams, Chris and Mark, and they've been some of the best. And so, obviously, when you have quarterback issues, your team's going to struggle. But I've been surprised with how their defense has struggled. And to Jim's point, that's a big deal. Getting their guys back here in Hamilton, playing at home, I think that's where the edge is. So, can Edmonton win this game? Absolutely. But the defense of the Ticats, I think, will be the difference playing at home. Yeah,
it should be interesting, too, because Scott Milanovic and Chris Jones, they were roommates in Montreal. When Scott was the head coach in 12, he was the defensive coordinator. They know each other very well. So there's going to be no surprises. They're going to know what's happening.
Unless Scott's doing something different since he's been back, but we'll
He's
see
only been there 3 days, so he can't put a lot of stuff in. But think about last year. Basically, the Elks defense took over the game. Hamilton had a bunch of turnovers. Trey Ford managed the game, and that's what got them the win on the road last year.
Jim, you know what I have to ask at this point in the broadcast? Is it your lock of the week?
This actually is my lock of the week. I do not think. Let's go. I do not think the Elks can come into Hamilton when they're getting all these guys back in a game that's so important for Hamilton. I don't think they can get it done. I'm taking the Hamilton Tiger Cats as my lock of the weekend.
I legitimately think the Elks are going to win this game. I'm off this.
We got sound effects this week.
It sounds like a fire alarm. Is that the best we could do for them? It's the first time we heard that. All right. After the break, we're going to give a little love to Trey Ford after his performance last week. And we will give you our anytime touchdown scores.
This is getting way too big.
Trey Ford gets his first start.
The Canadian from the University of Waterloo. Ford under pressure. Yes, he can run. And running well here as he gets another Edmonton first down. Throwing touchdown for Trey Ford. His first in the Canadian Football League.
It's a big win for that young man in his first start.
I want to be a role model to Canadian quarterbacks. To show them that you can come out here, you can compete, you can win games.
Here's a look at the FanDuel 5, the 5 most staked anytime TD scores for Thursday Night Football. James Butler has the shortest odds to find the end zone tonight. Tim White hasn't scored in 3 games, but his last TD was against Edmonton. Trey Ford and Kevin Brown each scored touchdown for the Elks last week. Taylor Powell on the board despite having just 1 rushing touchdown so far this season. Time now for the experts' picks. We will start with you, Davis Sanchez.
If the Elks are to win this game, Trey Ford has a big game, and at some point in the first half, he gets in the end zone. If they're losing in the second half and come back, somewhere he gets a touchdown. I like Trey Ford to score.
That's a good pick.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Duke Williams because I know this. When Scott Milanovich was our head coach, we had Dontrell Inman that he would just throw the ball up to. We had Darnell McDonald before that when we were in Cal. He just throw. Duke Williams is that guy that Taylor Powell is just going to throw the ball up to.
I got James Butler, right? I think a new coordinator is like, I'm going to put it in his belly. Give him. He had 9 carries last week. He had 8 catches last week. So let's get the tailback the ball, put him in the end zone.
I also took James Butler tonight, and when I texted it to the group, I said I'm taking JB, and your response immediately was, I'm not scoring tonight. I like Butler. Ches, you like Trey Ford. AK likes Butler as well. Jim, you're taking Duke, and Lapo is on Butler as well, with more on the Canadian QB, Trey Ford. Here's Matt Dunnigan.
Hey, y'all stop having so much fun back there in the Studio 6. I miss y'all. Stay dry. We'll try to do the same out here. A lot of talk about Trey Ford, justifiably so. The kid is extremely talented. That's well documented. He's a sprinter, and he's a quarterback, and he's just learning the game along with his cohort, Taylor Powell, on the other side. And what makes it difficult to defend against this kid is you're going to have to keep somebody on him spying. Talking to Orlando Steinhauer this week, he says we're going to try to have 3 levels and mix it up. So now just having one guy get worn out throughout the football game. And this is what Trey Ford can do to you. He can put pressure on you if you don't have your gaps. And they actually take a defensive lineman and drop him off into coverage. And it's like, thank you very much. Trey Ford says, I'll eat that all day long and exploit you. And here's another look at it. Watch the tackle drop off to your left there into coverage. Trey sees that. He knows he's got one defensive lineman to mess with. You got a gap that is not contained. He says, I'll take that all day with 4.4 speed. That's an easy first down for the young quarterback, and you have to play to his strengths. Here they have Simone Lawrence spying on him. He's in great position, but he's no match for number 2 because he'll do that to you every time. And so this is why Orlando Steinhauer is looking to get 3 levels and mix it up and have eyes to that young man all night long because he is very dangerous and he can exploit you at the drop of a hat.
Taylor Powell looks over the middle, up in the air, intercepted.
Downright ugly for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Penalty-wise, explosion-wise, flat out not good enough, not professional.
Doesn't see the man, ball is out.
We see the frustration, missed opportunity once again.
The Grey Cup is in their backyard. Those fans are expecting a lot, and if they can't get something done, fans stop showing up.
Time now for Canada's new favorite segment. It is Coordinator's Corner. Lapo?
Yeah, we love this segment. We love talking ball, Jim and I. You know, Scott Milanovich, as a new offensive coordinator, what does he have to do this week? Here's 2 things I thought about. First of all, you can't go in and bring your own system of terminology in the game, Jim. He's got 45 guys who already know the terminology. He's got to be the one guy who learns it as it goes in. Something new goes in, sure, but he can't handcuff those guys. He's got to, I know he knows them a little bit, but he's got to make sure that it's simpler for those guys. Second thing is the quarterback relationship with the play caller is so important. And what really has to happen is he's really got to spend, Scott and him, Taylor, have got to become 2 guys who end up spending as much time as possible together, and they have got to learn their systems and everything they need to do. Part of Scott's strength is his ability to do the short, controlled passing game. And an area Hamilton has to improve in is their deep ball passing, right? You've got to make sure that you're not taking these many shots downfield. Last week, they took 5 shots downfield. I don't think they made 1 shot downfield. They're the worst deep ball passing team in the CFL with the most interceptions and one of the lowest completion percentages. So I think Scott's ability to get those short passes going and the shorter completions that are going to get first downs and not all those explosive shots are going to help them a lot get where they need to go and get points on the board, Jim.
Well, Jarius Jackson with Trey Ford. Trey Ford has two great qualities. Number one, he's got a strong arm. There's no question about his arm strength. And he is quick, lightning quick in the pocket, and is a great open field runner. So a couple of the things that I would do. Number one is the RPO. And people don't really understand this. I'm going to give a little lesson here. But every gap has to be covered. If you look on the very left of the screen, there's a linebacker. Kyrie Wilson is going to vacate, which he hands the ball off to Kevin Brown, and he takes off. Now, we're going to watch the exact same play, and that linebacker, the linebacker on the same side as the running back, is going to come in. It's Adam Bighill, and it opens up for a completion. But those are the easy kind of reads. He can go back and utilize that strong arm. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spread the field. Okay, I'm going to take my guys and line up in 4x2 sets, 3x3 sets, and force them to put 5 guys in the box. I now have 5-on-5 and Trey Ford. I like my odds there.
Yep.
This gives him some opportunities to throw. Instead of keeping Kevin Brown back there as an extra blocker, put him back, get rid of the ball quickly, and allow him to do damage with his legs. That's kind of how I would approach Trey Ford.
Yeah, that's
Kate?
great. Yeah.
Coach? Let's take a look at the most receiving yards over the last 3 seasons, and look who leads the way. It is Geno Lewis with 2,467, basically since the COVID year. What a benefit for the Elks to have him back in this lineup tonight, because we haven't seen him since week 3 when he was injured. It was a lower body injury against the Toronto Argonauts. And a lot of these receivers that the Elks brought in, I think that a lot of their fans thought they'd see a lot more. But you mentioned earlier that you were speaking to Geno and how he was feeling going into the night. I completely agree. Just having the veteran presence there, too, must help for this team who desperately needs it.
Absolutely. He gives a young quarterback in Trey Ford a place to go when he's not sure and he's uncertain. And that's the biggest thing for me, is on the outside with Geno. When Trey's not sure, whenever he sees one-on-one coverage, he can go out there and he's going to feel good about the decision. And that, for a young quarterback, that's beneficial, especially on the road. And what makes Geno different? And we hear a lot about these jump balls and 50-50 balls, the most overused term in football. But one thing about what makes Geno special is his timing. Yes, he's got, as he calls them, his bunnies, and he can jump. But what makes Geno so great is he rarely mistimes those jumps. So when you throw the ball up, if it's one-on-one coverage, he's always going to either come down with the ball or it's going to be a breakup. And receivers always think it's a 50-50 ball.
Right.
Receivers, I'll tell you this now, if it was a 50-50 ball, then you guys would be the best receivers in the history of the game. Nobody comes down with it.
No one.
Can you think of it?
Is there anyone who did that? In CFL history? Wide receiver?
You know what? There's a guy I'm thinking of, but he's not here, and I'm not giving him. He gets enough attention when he's here. Forget about it.
Yeah. Sorry, Beagle. By the way, in warm-up, how good is this? Geno's looking just fine. A beautiful little one-handed grab. I think it's a little easy when no one's covering you, right, Chaz? But he looks just fine at this point. We have more coming up right after this.
I'm looking at Trey Ford to go over 185 yards passing today. I know, young quarterback on the road, he should lean to his run game. He should be cautious, take care of the football. I don't think that's the case for this Elks team. And in the first half, I expect Trey Ford to take some shots down the field. He's got Geno back. He's got Dylan. He's got to try to make some big plays. If they don't in the first half, and if they're trailing, then we had a back door in the second half. Our ticket is not over if they don't start off good. If Hamilton's winning at halftime, this Elks team in the second half has a chance to backdoor it. And when I look at the Hamilton Tiger Cats defense, and I look at Mark Washington, Orlando Steinauer, on a good day, they're cautious. They don't want to blitz. They want to play coverage. So in the second half, if the Elks are trailing and haven't jumped out and made big plays, you still have a chance to cover. That's why I like Trey Ford over. Got a couple ways to win. Over 185.5. Trey Ford, that's the prop that I'm liking today.
Beautiful night for football right now in Hamilton. Fingers crossed the weather stays this way. Meanwhile, the offense officially in Scott Milanovich's hands. Excited to see what he has in store for Taylor Powell. Here he is with Matthew Shinetti.
Taylor, does it kind of feel like you're a bit of a vet now with all the things that you've experienced here and a coaching change now and some of the expectations put on you and starting? And how are you trying to keep yourself mentally present?
Vet's an aggressive term, but I'm just going to go be me, man, and try to learn each drive and get better and just try to help the kid win here.
In terms of kind of the messaging between you and Scott Milanovich, it really has been only 3 days that he's been able to coach you up, but how have you already tried to build that communication between the two of you?
Just in there early, leaving late, just trying to grind with him, and he's a hell of a coach, and I'm super excited to work with him.
How do you play in the rain?
You play.
We'll find out. Thanks.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
You play. Veteran is aggressive at this point, but I like it, Shooter. I love the questioning.
Love it.
You know, we have to talk about what happened with the Edmonton Elks this week, and Victor Cui and the team mutually parting ways. Look, clearly they're not producing on the field, but now this is trickling to off the field, and we've talked about the operations cap. We've talked about Chris Jones's future with the team. But just overall right now, Coach, this doesn't seem like a great situation in Edmonton.
Well, again, we don't know the story behind Victor Cui. They say it was mutual, but you don't know who initiated it. Bottom line is they weren't getting fans out there. And when you go through big problems from a football standpoint, you go back to the basics. And I think that's what these guys have to do. They got to go back to the basics. They hired Chris Presson from the Arena League down in the U.S., hadn't been up here. Then after him, they bring Victor in, who's an Edmonton guy, but doesn't really know the CFL and the ins and outs of that. I honestly believe they need to bring a guy, Len Rose. I don't even know what he's doing. I mean, I've never talked to him, but that guy, at least their budget, they would make $1 to $2 million a year. They would win some games. They won one Grey Cup, and he's a guy who understands the situation. I don't know any other option they have, honestly, because they've got to do something to get this back in order.
It feels like there's always, pressure. There is pressure from the fan base, from the shareholders, and that's who's making a decision. And I'll say it again, I've said it many times, it's going to be the wrong decision. If they get rid of that coaching staff, to me, and I'm going to get ripped because people look at the record and they say it is what it is. And I know that those coaches, and I know, what they are, and that's a good staff. And I think, yes, changes have to be made or don't have to be, but changes will likely be made because of the pressures that come. But I still think if they can hang on and figure it out business-wise, I think they have the right people in the building to win on the football field.
Yeah, and I think the hard part of the Eskimos organization is they live in the past too much.
The Elks.
Sorry,
you
the
need
Elks.
to get into the future.
yes, the Elks have done what they've done a good job of. What they haven't done a good job is they're living in the past. Look at this. Look at their record over the past 16 seasons. 1 Grey Cup win, 1 division title. Second in the West twice. Third in the West 2 times. What does that relate to? 11 years out of 16, they're 4th or 5th in their division. So they have a long way to go. How do you fix that? You hire a guy and you leave him in place. And the board's getting a lot of, everyone's on the board now. Well, you're on your 3rd president in 5 years. Well, the board flips their people on the board flip every 2 years themselves. But they have got to make sure that they put somebody in place and let them start building this organization back, because it's not the 80s anymore.
They're talking about private ownership and talking about other things, but they need to get something in place just to get going, just on an interim basis. They got to have something so fans will come out again and feel like there's something worthwhile to go for. That's why they need to win some games.
And Jason Moss was fired going to the playoffs 3 years in a row, right? If Jamie Elizondo, right, and Brock, are they better off if they kept those guys?
Yeah.
They got a better, there's a lot of mistakes been made, but they got to get one person in place.
Talk is great. We got to do something.
Yes.
At the end of the day, you have to respect those fans, by the way, that keep coming out. Meanwhile, 2 head coaches that desperately need this win tonight. We'll get you back to Tim Hortons Field for kickoff right after this. season, the Canadian Trey Ford looks to build on a solid performance, leading the Elks to 28 offensive points and 3 TD drives against the Blue Bombers. Meanwhile, Tiger Cats coming off a bye. Taylor Powell struggled at times against Montreal in his last game. He did have 202 yards, but a couple of picks. Yet to throw a TD pass as a starter so far this season. He has had one, of course, coming in relief as we welcome you to Thursday Night Football on TSN. Kate Burness alongside David Sanchez, Jim Barker, Paul LaPolice. Let's get right to your key matchups for this evening, Ches.
A lot of talk about the big guy, Geno Lewis, coming back and Trey trying to get the ball to him, understandably so. The one thing is the short corner out there, Richard Leonard. He's a 5'9" guy. He has as good a ball skills as anybody. They're going to test him. I think Richard Leonard is a guy I would not test, but let's see how that plays out. Richard Leonard against those 2 wideouts on deep shots.
I have 2 things I'm really excited about. One is, how is Scott Milanovich going to attack Chris Jones? And second, how is Chris Jones going to attack Scott Milanovich? I think that's the matchup of the night is those 2 guys going at it. Scott hasn't been in the league in 3 years. I think it's going to be pretty interesting.
Thomas, Jack Kadula, David Foucault, Mark Cordy. Those 3 guys are going to get Dylan Wynn showing up and going to be going 60 plays at them. So that's going to be interesting for me. The interior alignment, how are they going to handle Dylan Wynn coming off the 6th game, and outstanding interior defensive pass rusher.
Hey, Jim, you know what's interesting is Scott hasn't been in the league for 3 years. Guess what else hasn't happened in 3 years? The Elks haven't won in 3 years.
How tall were you, Chezzy? Were you out there at
home? They have one.
Okay. Being sarcastic.
I know, but still, I'm just trying to give them a tiny bit of love at this point.
But I also have great ball skills, Paul.
By the way, Milt Stiegel, we were talking about 50-50 balls, getting 50%, and you were saying how great it was. He texted us. He's like, I wasn't at 50%. I was at 100%. Come on, Geno Lewis.
Gosh, I got him blocked.
Match that tonight. I'm currently...
Thank you, Kate. Under threatening skies here in Southern Ontario for this, the official start of the second half of the CFL regular season, and the second meeting in just over a month between the Edmonton Elks and Hamilton Tiger Cats. One of these teams really needs to win badly. The other one, Matt, needs to win even more. They both have young quarterbacks. Let's start with Trey Ford now, Canadian kid from down the road in Niagara Falls. We remember what happened on Canada Day a year ago when he got his first start and got the victory as well.
Got a little help from his teammates, too. Turnover late. Dane Evans, quarterback for Hamilton at the time, turned the ball over. They had a basically walk-in fumble recovery, and that really helped Trey Ford get the job done in his first win of his career. Taylor Powell, he's still looking for that elusive first win. Hey, he's only started 2, and he says over the last 3 days under Scott Milanovich, he's learned a lot. You think, Rod? They're so young and wet behind the ears, it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's been a tough week for Orlando Steinauer and a tough season, firing his friend and longtime offensive coordinator Tommy Condell, replacing him with former Argo head coach Scott Milanovich. They all won a Grey Cup together with the Argos in 2012, including that man, Chris Jones, but he has his own problems this season, 0-9, and as mentioned earlier, the team parting ways with club president Victor Gui earlier this week. The Ticats won the toss. The wind could be a factor in this one. Some stormy skies brewing, so the Ticats have deferred. They want the ball in the second half or choice of end, so the Elks will get the ball first to get this started. And defending the north end zone, Mark Allegio, the kicker, in his first year with the Ticats, former Blue Bomber, to get it underway. The kick it from the 30, and C.J. Sims, one of the returners back for the Edmonton Elks. Week 11 underway, and this goes to Gavin Cobb at the 10. Product of the University of Manitoba on the return, gets it up across the 35. So on comes Trey Ford. First start of the season last week, 12 for 16, 189, a touchdown and a pick.
Yeah, basically stated that he felt like he wanted to push the ball down the field a little bit more, and kind of challenged for the club to do that. And his head coach, Chris Jones, heard him what he had said, and said he kind of wished his players would stay in their own lane and execute the plays that are called.
His feature receiver, Geno Lewis, prized free agent acquisition, who just came off the 6-game injured list, ready to go again. Watch for 87. And a play fake to start. And lots of time for Ford, who dances away from Trey Crawford. He can run. He's shown that in the past, and he runs here for a first down. Ford dangerous with the legs and gets it up closer to the 50 of Edmonton.
Yeah, get used to that, Rod. Just look at he talked about Gino Lewis being back in the lineup. I think that's outstanding. You know, you've got Boyko, who's new to this football club, back in uniform, playing right tackle. He's still getting used to the system. Eugene's back in it, 11 catches, 200 yards and a touchdown. Big playmaker. If Trey wants to throw the ball deep, 87th, you're going to be your guy all day long. As good as they come in the Canadian Football League. Happy to have him back.
He's got Kevin Brown in the backfield, too, does Trey Ford, who ran for a first down. Remember, first play from scrimmage against Winnipeg last week, and it was Brown taking off for a touchdown.
Too many men.
Edmonton at 13 players on the field. This is a 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
And the kind of thing that drives coaches nuts, especially at the start of a game.
Yeah. You know, we've seen it happen, and we've seen it with this football club. Players not knowing where they're supposed to be, bring the ball out of the end zone, a little disarray. Somewhere the ball's being dropped, and that's not a good sign the first play of the football.
So that pushes them back 5 yards after they got that first down to the 44, and a 1st and 15 now for the Edmonton Elks. 0-9 coming into this game to start the second half of the season. The Ticats at 3-6 from the Edmonton 44. And little quarterback draw. Ford calls his number again, and he gets it up closer to midfield. It'll be still a 2nd and long, but up across the Hamilton 50.
Yeah, I've highlighted Malik Carney here for a reason, because I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league. I think he's special, and I think he's just trying to figure that out. Really, and Simone Lawrence been one of the most special in the last 11 seasons. Outstanding, 689 yards, 11 away from 700, obviously. And Tunde Adeleke back in. He's going to be probably saddled up with spying that kid behind the center for the Elks right now, and I would think that they're going to need a lot of help to rally Trey Ford.
Up across the Edmonton 50, I should say, in 2nd down. Ford again. 3 running plays, and he picks up another first down. By the looks of things, it'll be close. Richard Leonard coming in to stop him, but it looked like having to get to the 51 of Hamilton. Yes, indeed they do. So in Ticats territory, all in the legs of Ford so far.
Yeah, Rod, you know, I was going to say 1st and 15 for this kid in his legs is no big deal. They're going to continue to play zone. He's going to take that. There's no pressure. And he's a little upset there with contact. You can't be shy from that. Especially if you're going to pull it down. That's 3rd time already. I love it, Rod. He's got to play these strengths. We know that is a big one for him.
3 carries, 28 yards so far. Opening possession in this game, Kevin Brown. Very different than his first carry against Winnipeg last week. He's going nowhere. Picks up maybe a yard. Casey Sales, Malik Carney in there to stuff Brown.
There he is. I really like 5. Carney is just a player, and he's all over the football field. But yeah, that 65-yarder was explosive last week, to say the least. And to come out of the gate and be able to do that, give the Edmonton Elks, that sent a message and really kind of caught Winnipeg napping, and they woke up, as you well know, outscored them badly the next 2.5 quarters. But it was a pretty special start for the Elks at home.
No end. Edmonton.
Andre's going to get it figured out. Hopefully the Elks do too.
Another one of those shoot yourself in the foot type of penalties over the Elks, who
Coach Jones trying to figure it out.
There is no infraction on the play. Edmonton, number 59, checked in.
Some confusion over the extra O-lineman, Philip Prohovic. So apologies to the Elks there. Not a shoot yourself in the foot penalty. They take that one back.
Then they took it right off the football field. And I'm not quite sure why he checked in the first place. Then he got a break from Andre. Took a chance to substitute again.
Brown gained only a foot, so it's a 2nd down. Call it 9.5 for Ford and the Elks now. 3-man rush. Completes this one to Gino Lewis, his first catch since coming back off the 6-game disabled list. He was injured back in week 3 against Toronto, but it is not enough for a first down. They're still 3 yards shy.
Gino, Gonna give me action early. Sit up there, sit underneath everything, try to split this tackle. That's exactly what you try to do. I would have picked that. I would have picked Elliott too, as opposed to Simone Lawrence. That's a good choice. Gino Lewis, 21 for the little guy.
Now, Ford stays in. You see at a Hamilton 43, the wind, always a factor, is going against Edmonton right now. It would be a tough 50-yard try for Dean Faithful, so they're going for it instead from the Ticat 43. Ford on third down. He looks deep, and it is almost caught by Eugene Lewis.
Wow, that's a play that you would think that 87 would come up with. That ball was thrown beautifully from Trey Ford. 2nd and 3, they're going for it all.
Javian Elliott there. Lewis had a shot. Couldn't come down with it, so the Elks turn it over on downs. Ticat football coming up.
Big off-season acquisition for the Elks, back in the lineup after 7 weeks off, 6 weeks on the injured list and a bye week. And here he is right here. And this is Eugene Lewis. It's 3rd and 3. And they're going for everything here. You got Manny sitting down right in front of him, but he throws a beautiful ball over the top, and that's one that 87 usually comes up with, trying to pick up his young quarterback. Just couldn't come down with that one. I like it. A veteran trying to make a big play for his young quarterback, just couldn't get it done in that situation.
Ticats have the ball after the Elks turn it over on downs, starting with Taylor Powell at their 43. Faking the handoff, dumping it off to the right to Tim White. And he has it up to about the 47. Taylor Powell, his 3rd start, his numbers so far, and an 0-2 record, but lost to the Alouettes 2 weeks ago here at Tim Hortons Field.
You know, I mentioned off the top of the show that he's learning a lot, and he said, he quoted to us when we were talking to him early in the week, that he's learned a lot over the last 3 days. When that's coming out of your quarterback's mouth, it gets your attention. It's like, he's going to be learning a lot over the next 10 years if he can stay in the league that long. 3 days. He's talking about, of course, Scott Milinovich, new offensive coordinator. We'll be talking about him as the game goes on.
2nd and 6 now. Powell over the middle. It is caught. 45 and more. Duke Williams, who got his career started in Edmonton, a great year in 2018 with the green and gold. And
Duke's right here. He's going to run it big, and this ball's going to be feathered in between a real tight window. Just get beyond him, flatten it out there. Don't get up into the free safety territory. Duke makes a nice handsy catch. Gives us patented 1st down. You know he likes getting involved early against his old team. Duke Williams, nice catch.
One more catch than he had back in Edmonton 5 weeks ago when he was only targeted once.
Crazy.
When Powell came into that game for Matthew Schultz late. So here is James Butler, who had his best game of the season against Edmonton in that one 5 weeks ago at Commonwealth when he had 127 on the ground.
Yeah, he was Mr. Everything for him that game. And this guy the last couple of years since coming over from Edmonton, David Beard's been outstanding. What a great trade that was. Just look at Scott Milinovich in the booth. And James Butler, you just talked about him, Rod. Lit it up 1st time. Why not? Go for a whole bunch of 167 yards. And Duke Williams showing you what he's got already.
He had 127 on the ground and 40 more, as you talked about, 167 combined in that game at Edmonton. So a 2nd and 6, Powell, and they have him. He is taken down by the veteran Niles Morgan, the middle linebacker, coming in to force a 3rd down.
3rd-year player from Notre Dame, Niles Morgan, just getting settled in middle linebacker position. He's a good-looking ball player, standing right there in a 2-point stance. Just, nice little reverse move, comes back, spins back, and finds Taylor Powell. And another look at it, Rod. Taylor, you know, his mind and his feet weren't connected there, and oftentimes when you're not seeing it clearly, Rod, that's what's going to happen. This is the end result.
Mark Leggio from 49 with the wind at his back. The big difference in scenarios here so far in this 1st quarter. Plenty of lag, but no, doink off the upright, so that's a dead ball. And no points on the board for Leggio, who came in at 18 for 19, but 0 for 1 in this game after that missed field goal. Eugene Lewis, top player in the East last year, moves to the West and finally back on the field. The Elks in a 0-0 tie in Hamilton. We remain remember Eugene Lewis's debut with the Edmonton Elks back in week 1. 102-yard touchdown, catch and run. This is receiving yards since 2019, of course, most with the Montreal Alouettes, Matty.
Yeah, and he had an opportunity early in this football game to add to that total. And I know he's chomping at the bit, get back out there and make it happen. Shaking some rust off, that's all. Veteran receiver Eugene Lewis, both on and off the football field, happy to be out there.
Edmonton ball again in a scoreless tie. This time to Kevin Brown, who finds a hole, and he gets up across the 35. Before he is taken down, a pickup of 5 yards for the Elks. A lot of running from Trey Ford in that first possession as they got down to the Hamilton 43 and turned it over on down.
Yeah, he's just going to slide over here and follow his big boys and try to find a hole right there and watch him get off blocks at second level. Delicate got in there, got off his block. It's what you got to do, come from second level, get off your block and rally the football, especially against number 4. This is explosive as they come. Canadian Football League.
So the left tackle Martez Ivy pushing Malik Carney inside to open up that hole. Second and 4 at the Edmonton 36. That's Shannon Brooks, another running back for the Elks, who gets it up to the 40 and looks like a first down for Edmonton.
Yeah, and I really like the thought process. Just pound it. Establish that line of scrimmage. That used to be Edmonton's calling card when they were winning on a regular basis. That hadn't been around in a long time. Those big boys, they like to eat. They like to enforce their will, impose their will on defenses. I think this is one and an opportunity tonight where they should really try to do that and help out the young quarterback. And the same can be said to the Hamilton Tiger offense. Taylor Powell, James Butler.
Faking it to Brooks. Rolling out to his right is Ford. And he gets rid of it, and that's Dylan Mitchell. Did he keep his feet down? Yes, Dylan Mitchell with the catch and another first down with the Elks on the move.
Yeah, and you watch Jameer Thurman mirroring Trey Ford. This is a nice catch by Dylan on the sidelines. Boom, got the foot down. Right foot was down, left foot was out of bounds. He kind of slings this. Kind of his style right there. You see his left foot, but his right foot is already down.
Of course, in the CFL, you just need one.
That's it.
So it goes to the 50 of the Ticats. So the Elks offense, they have something going again here. Early in this one, past the halfway point of the first quarter. Fake to Brooks, and dumping it off for Kyron Moore inside the 50. Not much. Taken down there, Richard Leonard.
Yeah, Richard Leonard had a nice bead on that play. He was mirroring the back, and you're going to see him. Let me see, where's Richard coming from? He's going to slip to the back here. There's all the way across the field. Mirrored his receiver and his man made the open field tackle. Very nice play.
Had 2 interceptions against Montreal and Cody Fajardo a couple of weeks ago. And the Ticats lost to the Alouettes. We get a 2nd and 9 now. Hamilton 49 for Ford. He completes that one down at about the 42. They had to get to the 40. That's Manny Arsenault. And an amazing streak continues for that great veteran. That is the 138th straight game. Of course, he's appeared, and he's missed a lot of games with injury, but 138.
Goes back to October 2010.
It does, with BC.
Yeah, and that's hard work, dedication. Gets him close to a first down. 3rd and 1 here. 3rd and 3 last time they went for it. Took a shot down the field. Wonder if they can just go ahead and try to sneak it here and move the sticks. Looks like it.
Arsenault is just his 3rd game played this season. Taylor Cornelius lost his starting job. He's in now for short yardage. And pushing it on 3rd and 1. Had to get to the 40, and it looks like he has. Keep an impressive drive for the Elks going, as signaled by the referee, Andre Prude.
Like what Jarius Jackson is doing with Trey Ford right now. A lot of high percentage throws underneath, little play action, get him out of the pocket. He's moved the launching point. He tried to attack downfield. That one, as I noted, should have been caught by Eugene Lewis, but really like what Jarius Jackson. He's been offensive coordinator in this league before. He just took over there a couple weeks ago. He knows the system. He's been there as a quarterback coach, so it's not a big a turnover as what we saw here in Hamilton. We've been talking about those 2 OCs all night long.
Jarius Jackson taking over for Stephen McAdoo, who stays on as an advisor with the Elks. 1st and 10 at the Ticat 40. Trey Ford. He swings it out now to Kyron Moore. Gets 5, gets 7 or 8 there as he is knocked down by Casey Sales.
And Rod, that's a high percentage throw out to your left. You got blockers out in front. You're getting it into the right person's hands because he can make you miss in a phone booth. Yeah, he's going to be he's going to be right here. You're going to watch him there. Sorry for that drawing there, but you see him just kind of bubble out. Got 3 blockers in front. Bam, foot in the ground. Took some nice chunky yards there. 7 on that catch. Easy pitch and catch for the young quarterback getting out of his hands, making Hamilton run. Casey Sales is tired of this already.
To the 32 of the Ticats. Their first possession got down to the Hamilton 43. Further now and a 2nd and 2 on the ground to Brown, and tough sledding there. He had to get a little bit past the 30. He might be short here. We could have another 3rd down coming up here for this Edmonton Elks offense.
Yeah, and penetration, guys doing their job down in the trenches, and you just watch them knife in here, and they're going to make Brown relocate. Penetration in the backfield, filling right there. Elliott does a nice job of coming up there in secondary support, forcing 3rd and short.
Last time on a 3rd and 3, they tried a deep ball. This time it is just about a foot as Cornelius is back for short yardage for Edmonton to keep this drive going. On 3rd, and yes, the big body of Cornelius stretching across. It looks like another 1st down for Edmonton.
Yeah, not a lot going on in there except for a lot of grunting and shoving and pushing and nastiness. And that's the 3rd time already. They're 2 and 3 in 3rd down conversions. And way to get her done. 3rd and 3 in the first series of the football game for their Elks. They went over the top. That was really aggressive. I liked it on the road. Jones was trying to make it happen. Pretty happy right now. It's a nice drive by this young offense. Young quarterback trying to put it together on the road, find a 2nd win.
Another homecoming of sorts for Trey Ford. Grew up in Niagara Falls, just down the QEW's. Got family and friends here tonight, just like last year for his CFL debut. Blitz coming, he got it away. Touchdown Edmonton. Ford just before he's hit, and look who gets it. Former Tiger Cat Stephen Dunbar in his first trip back to Hamilton after spending the previous 2 years with the Black and Gold. Edmonton on the board first.
Yeah, nobody in the middle. You got to take it. This is the area you want to attack because nobody's there. You're going to have one-on-one opportunity. Trey Ford reads it. Blitz doesn't get there in time. He's willing to take that shot. He lifts it over the top of Katsatanis. Dunbar says, yeah, I used to do that in Ticat uniform. Now I'm doing it over here. That's what they were looking for in the first drive. They finished the deal on that one. That was a beautiful drive by young quarterback who's seeing the field nicely, and Jarius Jackson giving an opportunity to make some high percentage throws and seeing it, being able to dictate to the defense and take advantage of cover 0.
The point after for Dean Faithful, and talked about what this means for Trey Ford coming home, what it means for Stephen Dunbar too, that called Tim Hortons Field his home for a couple of years. 7 was on the blitz. Ford got it away to his number 7 for 7 points Edmonton early on here in Hamilton.
Yeah, this is what you got. You got this man right here and this man right here, and he's going to take him right over the top in the middle where nobody's at. Pressure doesn't get to Trey Ford in time. Ford just takes the shot, knows he's going to lift it. Little double move, suck him in. Ball's on time. That's a beautiful drive by Trey Ford. 5 different receivers already. 10 plays, 80 yards. Trey Ford looking like a seasoned vet out there in that drive.
Tyreek McAllister won't get it. It goes a little shorter. It's Sean Thomas Burlington.
Good to see him out there,
Yeah, good to see him back. He'd been injured and out. He takes that shorter kick against the wind by Faithful. And so good field position for Taylor Powell. And the Tiger Cats to start. That ball is put down at the Hamilton 53, down 7. It's almost 2 years ago to the day that Stephen Dunbar, early in the CFL, his first year with Hamilton, got his first touchdown catch in Montreal from Dane Evans. And he's got one in this game returning to Hamilton from Trey Ford, and that's the difference right now. Oh, running now is Butler. Big run down to the 15. That's what the Ticats needed, a late flag coming out. James Butler, who really went off in Edmonton 5 weeks ago, does it there as well to put Hamilton close.
Finds a nice lane in the middle of that defense. Morgan kind of gets washed, and he comes right through this lane here, and it is
major foul.
Foot race.
Unnecessary roughness.
Morgan goes to the left.
Tackle.
He goes right.
Edmonton number 11. At the distance.
Face mask right there. Horse collar.
Down.
Add a little more to it. I was just going to say, Edmonton's controlling the football here in the first quarter. 11 minutes already of time of possession for the Elks, and it looks like we hadn't seen Taylor Powell and James Butler, and there's Butler right there saying hello to everybody.
At 127 on the ground in that previous game against Edmonton, 43 and 1 carry there. The veteran Ed Gainey taking the penalty, just his second game back from injury. First and goal, Taylor Powell on the Ticats, and going left, Butler. And he's wrapped up that time. Tony Jones, linebacker, coming in to get him and then get some help to take him down for no damage. Second down, maybe a loss of a yard. Goal to go coming up.
Yeah, Tony Jones, Texas Tech. Yeah, he's right. He's right. Excuse me. He's right up the line of scrimmage right there. Jones, 39. Second-year player from Texas Tech, getting the job done. Good recognition, Tony.
So a big second down
Backs
coming up
against
here.
the wall, Rod. You
They are. Goal to
your
go.
neck.
Test for the Elks defense too. Felix Garan-Gauthier, the fullback, is in, and he gets loose. And Powell on the run, and he looks down to Garan-Gauthier at about the 2. So we have a third down coming up as they do get closer. Right at the end, the final play of the first quarter. Powell to Garan-Gauthier, but still shy of the end zone. So talked about a big second down, an even bigger third down ahead for these teams. Impressive start for the Edmonton offense in a 7-0 lead. Watching the CFL on TSN. Interesting first quarter here in Hamilton. The biggest story has been Edmonton's offense with Trey Ford passing and certainly running as well. The 7-0 lead on the touchdown by Dunbar, but the Ticats are knocking on the door.
Yeah, and don't forget about that missed field goal by Leggio, right? Those are points taken off the board there. You think that's going to be automatic because he's having such a great year. But really impressed with Trey Ford here in the first quarter. Time of possession just in favor of the Elks, and I like the way that Jarius Jackson is utilizing the young quarterback, using the strengths, wearing out the defense, going side to side. Quarterback called run, high percentage throws, taking shots, reading cover zero. Now you got Hamilton and their young quarterback, Taylor Powell, knocking on the door. Third and goal here, got to have it.
At the 2, third down, Hamilton. Trying to tie this game up. Taylor Powell standing under center. Handing off! Touchdown! James Butler does it. Had the biggest play to get them close. And he finishes it off. Fifth rushing touchdown for James Butler this season.
Oh, I love this little misdirection here. You're going to see Williams come around here, and then a little flash fake right in the backfield, reach back, give it to James Butler, give him some vision, get depth there, give the ball as deep as you possibly can. Revenberg just blowing up that left side, opening up a hole for James Butler, potentially tying up this football game. Who wants it more down there? And that time, Hamilton got the better. Edmonton's deep. James Butler getting in the end zone once again. 4
plays, 57 yards, and barely a minute. The biggest play, a 43-yard run to start that drive by Butler as Leggio comes on. And that kick goes wide right. Whoa. So Leggio has had a missed field goal, and he missed that point after. 6 for 10 in the year in the point after tries for Mark Leggio, so they don't get the tie, still down a point, but Scott Milanovich, the new offensive coordinator for the Ticats, looking on and had to like what he saw overall with that drive.
Yeah, it's like riding a bike, you know, everybody down there executing the plays he's calling, and that was well done up front. Pretty easy walk in. James Butler finished what he started, and that was a nice response drive by the young quarterback, Taylor Powell. And there's a guy shaking hands with right now, Bo Levi Mitchell, up here in the booth with us, snuck in, give us some love. Yeah, he liked what he saw. He and Scott are over there in the booth real close to us, and they've done a nice job of directing that response drive to Edmonton's domination of the clock so far here early in this football game.
Good to see Bo Levi Mitchell. I'm sure he's had some influence.
He looks a little thinner. I mean, I think he must be on the bike a lot with his ankle situation. He's wearing some kicks, some Crocs. I think he got some Crocs going there. Yeah.
So Leggio will kick off from the Hamilton 30. They are now going against the wind. And it is still an Edmonton lead with the missed extra point.
He did that on purpose, Rodney.
Yep. Going against the wind may as well. It does come down into Edmonton hands, though, and up at the 50.
I mean, I think you give up 20 yards of field position there if that wasn't a pooch kick to try to get somebody on sides to cover it. I don't know. I'll take that all day. I'll take that all day if I'm Trey Ford.
It was Shannon Brooks that came down with it. Now, as I say, bear in mind, they're already going against a pretty stiff breeze.
Are you going to say that had something to do with Leggio missing the convert?
No, not from that distance.
Right?
No.
But certainly you would think it has something to do with the thought process to kick it short like that and give Edmonton the ball at the 50-yard line.
They have the breeze at their backs now, and they have the 1-point lead starting at their 50 for Trey Ford. Sets up a draw to Kevin Brown.
I'll take 9 all day.
He takes 9 there. He's coming off his best game against Winnipeg. A lot of it coming early in that game, but Brown still went off for close to 100 yards in that one.
They're just taking full advantage here and just pushing him out of the way and rooting him out. You take him, I'll bump Sales over to you. You take over, I'll go to second level, and we'll let Brown do the rest. That's just a nice job.
That first carry last week against Winnipeg went 65 for a touchdown. He ended up with 98 on the day.
That was Corte and Bella getting it done.
But we got another second and short yardage situation for Taylor Cornelius passing of it. Open receiver. Oh, what a play here. A.C. Leonard, a defensive lineman who started his CFL career as a receiver with the BC Lions. It was Chris Jones who converted him to defensive line in Saskatchewan back in 2016. So the receiver instincts are well as Cornelius tricks that Hamilton defense.
Yeah, so he's going to fake like he's going to run a quarterback sneak, dip in there, and drop back off his back foot, and a one-hander by AC. And he's like, yeah, I do this all day. I'm just an athlete. Excuse me, get out of my way. Athlete coming through. I don't know about his acting skills. And when you're 6'5", Taylor Cornelius really can't hide in there, but he made a nice throw and a beautiful one-handed grab by AC.
So here we go, Kevin Brown again. And down inside the 5 in that first and goal. Hey, that previous play was a 2nd and 1, so they did have a down to play with, and why not? They tricked him.
Watch out. I'm just going to bat it in, soft hands. Look at the mitt. That looks like a Nerf football right there.
Not many defensive linemen have had a pro career as a receiver as well. And they really made good use of the skill set.
Willie Jefferson in Winnipeg, he'll say he can play receiver.
There's another example of a guy that could certainly do, but he
He's not having any fun, is he?
Well,
that's amazing.
In a season that has not been much fun at all, take it when you can, and it's a 2nd and goal as they look to open up their lead now.
So they start on the 59-yard run, little gadget play. AC takes him down, knocking on the door.
And on 2nd and goal, Cornelius still in at quarterback for Edmonton. Drives about a yard closer, but still, we have a 3rd down and goal coming up.
It's just me, does it look hot and muggy down there?
It's not just you. It's getting hot and muggy up here.
Yeah. Yeah, Demir Thurman going, yeah, Matty, it's hot and muggy. Our backs are up against the wall. We need a goal line stance right now.
The kind Saskatchewan had against Edmonton in week 1. Remember that? And right at the end of the game, and the Elks had 3 cracks at it and couldn't get it in for the touchdown. This is down to the 1. It's a 3rd and goal. They have the 7-6 lead. Taylor Cornelius reaches across, breaks the plane, touchdown Elks.
He had to use all 6'5" of his frame there and point the ball over the goal line to get there because his legs were on the 3 and the ball was in the end zone. That's what you can do when you're that tall. He did what he had to do. A nice look at it here, right down the line. Want some, get some. Extend that ball. There it is. It's an easy call.
Easily breaks the play in there, and Cornelius.
Well executed.
Trey Ford had a great start to this game, but they mix it up. They put Cornelius in with the drive-defining play was that 2nd and 1 trickery to A.C. Leonard that got them down close.
All right, Dylan Wynn got bent backwards on that one too. Just coming back in the lineup after 11 months off.
Dean Faithful, the point after. And so it is now an 8-point lead for the Edmonton Elks, who answer right back in this one. 5 plays, 60 yards in 3.5 minutes. For Taylor Cornelius, they start with Ford. Cornelius stays in and scores the touchdown in Hamilton. Another appearance in Hamilton for Trey Ford with family, lots of it, and friends down the road in Niagara Falls. But 2 very important people are missing at this game tonight. Let's go down and say hello to Matthew Shinetti.
Yeah, Mom, Annika, and little girl Anas are in Edmonton right now. And, well, Trey Ford, when I spoke to him about his 8-month-old, he smiled and said, you know, the perspective I'm getting now is, yes, it's such an accomplishment to play professional football. But now that I know I have a daughter, obviously the perspective changes. And that perspective is now, listen, I want her to be involved in sports. And he talked to me, Trey Ford did, about wanting his daughter to be a tennis athlete. And then he kind of stopped and said, well, maybe it'll be another sport. But knowing that she gets to watch me and pursue my dreams, and Maddie, you and I have talked about this in terms of quarterbacks and kind of that stability of family and what that brings them. Trey Ford, and he does have, Rod, 22 people here, so many from his high school, so many from his hometown. But Mom and little daughter, he misses them very much tonight, guys.
All right, Matthew, and on the kickoff now, Sean Thomas Erlington, a nice catch to get it down at the 5, but the wind pushing it back there as he gets it up across the 20. But yeah, had a very good family, athletic family, the Ford family Matthew talked about as well, and said wanting his young daughter to make sure that she gets involved in sports.
Yeah, I don't know if there's so much taking care of the daughter as 3 dogs that he has back home, right? Yeah. You know, somebody drew the short straw there, but Trey loves his dogs, and certainly his young family motivates him these days, understandably so.
So he engineered the first touchdown. Cornelius engineered the second. They have the lead. And now Taylor Powell, who's 3 for 3 for 31 yards, but great running by James Butler, their previous possession for the Hamilton touchdown, as he is throwing there and out to the left for Tim White, who picks up about 6 yards for the Ticats.
Yeah, you know, I look at Tim White and his opportunities he's been getting. He's been getting quite a few of them. Coming to this game, he's targeted 50 times, only has 25 catches. So hitting it about 50% when they go his way. That's a nice catch by 12 there, picking up his quarterback. Ball could have been out a little bit earlier, stuck on a little quicker, so he might have been able to do something with it.
In his 3rd season with the Ticats, and a 2nd and 4 coming up after that 6-yard gain for Taylor Powell. 4-man rush with time. Oh! Would have been a first down, and that's in and out of the hands of Anthony Johnson, who was inserted into the lineup tonight, but dropped it there, and we get a 3rd down, and the Ticats are going to have to punt it away.
Yeah, and he's just going to quick slant here. He's going to hit him right in the breadbasket, and it's going to go on the ground. He talked about trying to pick up the quarterback and respond, and he might have taken a peek with Adam Konar right in the vicinity. He's kind of taking a peek to see where he's going to go get some yak, and forgot the pill.
In there for Terry Godwin, the top receiver for Hamilton this season so far, who's out with an injury. So instead of the first down, a new punter too, Corey Vetvik, former Saskatchewan Rough Rider, acquired in a trade this week after Bailey Flint from Melbourne, Australia, had to go home to deal with some family business. He's on the suspended list. Vetvik, his first punt as a Ticat, and this season too.
That's bad, into the wind. That's nice.
Into the wind it goes, and C.J. Sims has it, and Nick Cross among those chasing him out of bounds. The drop by Johnson, and the ball's now in the hands of the Edmonton Elks, who have an 8-point lead. 2nd quarter at Tim Hortons Field. It was a year ago on Canada Day, quite fittingly. Niagara Falls, Trey Ford, the rookie out of Waterloo, got his first CFL start against the Ticats and showing off the legs. And now they got some breaks, as Matt talked about, in terms of turnovers, but he certainly did enough to help that team pick up a victory and what it must have meant to him, not just as a Canadian, but from Canadian University football, a real rarity to start a CFL game and to win it too. The most recent one before that, Greg Vavra from the University of Calgary with the Stampeders, and that was back in 1985.
And you know, Greg was briefly in camp with myself in Edmonton, and I looked at Greg Vavra and I'm going, he's my competition right there. That guy is a football player. He can sling it all over the yard. And heck, Crichton Trophy winners, those two guys.
And Ford is back in, and another big completion to Stephen Dunbar. The ex-Cat has a touchdown in this game, and he has that one all the way down near the Hamilton 15.
Yeah, you know that feels good on both ends. He's right here, and he's just going to the post, and this ball is going to be on the money. Woo! It's a double little move. So get some of that. And he's out. Gets tracked down. Well, that's a nice move. Takes time. So you hear quarterbacks say it starts with the offensive line up front. Yeah, there you go. Takes time to do that route. Stephen Dunbar says, thank you very much. Trey Ford puts it on the money.
All the way down to the 19 of the Ticats. For Stephen Dunbar, gain of 47. On the ground, Kevin Brown driving and gets it inside the 10. A good carry on first down. He is close to another first down. He has it. So it'll be a 1st and goal coming up here for the Elks, looking very impressive on offense tonight.
Watch him stick his left foot in the ground here, right? Bam, there. And then he's going a different way. Just shreds George, potential tackler, says, get off of me. Edmonton's looking explosive here. Starts with Trey Ford's legs, and now they're getting big chunks. Trick plays, boy, it's all working for him right now.
It really is. The balance of the run and pass. 1st and goal at the 9 now for Trey Ford. The touchdown pass in this game, and he breaks free, and he gets rid of it for touchdown number 2, Stephen Dunbar.
They're so worried about his legs, and I think they're spread out all over the field, and he's so quick, and he bounces, and he breaks the pocket, and he finds a wide open Stephen Dunbar just sitting there. He's right here. He's going to go up here, and he's going to sit down in here, and Trey's going to break and contain, throw across his body for an easy 6. Here comes the player. Support on the run from Trey Ford and his legs. Tunde's going, I just can't cover everybody back here. Do you see the size of this end zone? It's 20 yards deep and 65 yards wide. Let's go there! This is almost an impossibility, Rod, for the DB to be in right position when Trey Ford is on the edge.
Bayful another point after. So 3 touchdowns now for the Elks. I don't know who feels better about all this. Trey Ford or that man, Stephen Dunbar. At his first 2 years of the CFL with the Ticats, with the Elks having his best game in an Edmonton uniform so far. Ticats down. Three-play, 66-yard drive, capped off Matty with another touchdown pass from Ford to Dunbar.
Yeah, and he's right here, and he's going to run a little back. Oh, and hang on, here we go. He's going to run a little bang route underneath here. Give it to him, get underneath. Simone comes up. Really can't do anything there. As Trey's got him in a world of hurt, he's got space in front of him with his legs and his ability to move. He finds a wide open Stephen Dunbar in front of Tunde.
And now Sean Thomas Erlington on the return. Tanner Green back in the lineup after the 6, and a really good special teamer making the tackle there. So the Ticats, Taylor Powell, they're in a 15-point hole right now.
And he hadn't been on the field very often, you know. Nice response drive a couple series ago, and didn't get some help from his teammates to extend a drive. And don't panic here. Go out there and execute. Don't try to do too much. Scott Mlanovich, Bo Levi Mitchell standing up there. Scott Mlanovich on the left-hand side.
See Bo Levi Mitchell in there as well, but yeah, you're right though. They just haven't seen the field very much. Second possession went for a touchdown drive. For that man, James Butler is the ball carrier up across the 30, but the net yards heading into that play, Edmonton 241, Hamilton 82.
And, yeah, that's indicative. And now you're going to see a fresh defense for the Elks out there because they had been on the field too much. And that'll start taking its toll if they don't sustain a drive right here and put some pressure on this Elk defense.
The gain by Butler just shy of 5 yards. So 2nd down and 6 now at the Hamilton 32, 21-6 Edmonton. Three-man rush. He's still running out of time. Jake Serezna nearly got him, but he does get rid of it, and he completes it too, up at the 40 to Tim White. That's a 1st down for the Ticats. The ball now in the hands of Noah Curtis. Claiming it should be Edmonton ball, but they have spotted it at the furthest advancement for Tim White.
Yeah, to me, that's cover 4. Yeah, and you're going to watch this. You're going to watch four guys go deep, and you're going to have 5 underneath because they're going to only rush 3. So that's cover 4 with 5 underneath. You're trying to take away everything over the top. A lot of things underneath, intermediate. You come up, and exactly what we've seen with Trey Ford. When you press the edge, defenders come up, and all of a sudden receivers pop open, and that was Tim White for a 1st down.
Carlos-Sean Franklin on that tackle. Ball came out late. Play action fake. And running at a time again, and this time Serezna will not be denied as they pick up the sack of Powell. Jake Serezna.
Yeah, Jake's picking up his 5th right there, Rodney, and you know he's hungry. Yeah, he's standing up right here, folks. Big guy, right there, can't miss him. Hungry for number 5, and he gets it. Little point fake to the back. Taylor didn't like things to his left, and he looks to his right, and bam, there's Serezna. Hello.
You said sack number 5 this season, 30 on his career for the veteran Edmonton Elk, Jake Serezna. 2nd and 16 from the Ticat 36. Once again, just rushing 3. And Powell gets it off to Butler. There's lots of yardage after the catch, but still not enough yardage for a 1st down. He had to get to the 52. He's shy of the 50. So the punting unit will likely be coming on here as they are close to midfield, still in their zone.
Yeah, this is what happens when you Jake Serezna and you're getting a sack on my quarterback. Watch number 1, Duke Williams, come in and watch what he does. A little chip on the big man. Bam! Get some of that. Get my quarterback one more time. I'll be here all day. Duke Williams helping out his offensive line.
And where they spot the ball, Matty, it is a 3rd and 1 actually, so no punting unit. They bring in extra offensive lineman Dylan Black and fullback Felix Garan-Gauthier. So a 3rd and 1 now. Hamilton side of the field and trailing by 15. And out of shotgun. Powell hands off to Butler. And Butler is met just, it looks like, past what they need to get the 1st down.
We're standing 7 stories up right on that spot, and it looks, well, that was close.
Actually, it is quite close, but no, they do signal the 1st down. He got it up across the 52 and a half, so the sticks will move with the 3-minute warning given. James Butler had a big 43-yarder earlier to set up Hamilton's touchdown. They need more of that, though. They have the ball getting late in the 1st half.
Plenty to talk about coming up at the half. Trey Ford's play, Edmonton showing Hamilton a little bit of everything. And so there's a new OC for Hamilton, but what's going on with the defense, Coach?
I don't know. We have defensive head coaches on both sides, and they both fired their offensive coaches.
Perfect.
Kate in the panel. Halftime coming up here at Tim Hortons Field. And Edmonton leads it 21-6. Hamilton football, post to midfield, blitz coming.
That's up.
Ed Gainey coming in, he gets him, and the ball comes out. And the Elks, by the looks of things, have it. The veteran Gainey, just recently off the injured list, coming in and gets to Taylor Powell just in time to force that fumble, and Edmonton has the football.
Taylor never saw him. He's coming off the edge here, and he's going to track him down. Taylor's aware of the pressure on the right side, but he's not aware Gainey's coming with a full head of steam, and he strip sacks him, and Edmonton comes up with the football. I was just about to say this is an important drive for Taylor Powell. going into the half here, if they can put points on the board, then he gives up the ball, and a nice play by the veteran Ed Gainey.
And that was Montreal native Jeremy Dominique, recent 2022 draft pick by the Elks, went to Charleston. And a big fumble recovery, too. Edmonton will try to add to their total before halftime, but not that way, not on that play, with Kyle Wilson coming in on Kevin Brown, and a loss of a couple of yards for the Elks.
Yeah, Kyle Wilson, he's right here, and he just looks like a football player in that stance, ready to go to war. He just undercuts, pulling Boyko coming from his right tackle spot, and no challenge for Wilson. So I'll just undercut you and tackle for minus 3-yard loss.
Second and 13 now at the Edmonton 50. Late first half. Setting up a screen there to Brown, midfield, and he has met Jamie and Elliott coming in among those Ticats to take him down, and a third down and long is coming up here for Edmonton. And they will be punting for the first time in this game, Matty, and with the win.
Yeah, and Chris Edwards getting in the ear of Trey Ford, trying to get in his business, and Trey's laughing it off. Look at the scoreboard, my man. We're up 15. I like that play call, but it was well defended by the Ticats defense there. Second and 13, little screen. Looked like it had more in it, but like I said, they pursued the football and forced this punt.
So on comes Jake Julian. Who? Jake Julian from Barrie, Ontario.
Right. We hadn't seen him.
Drafted in it originally by Ottawa, but first punt for him. Down inside the 15 for the Cats. And that's Tyreek McAllister, and good coverage on that punt by the Elks to take him down at the 20.
Yeah, and that's Julian. That is him spotting that football over there in between the numbers and the sidelines, and really giving his unit an opportunity to rally to the football. That's a heck of a punt right there, first one of the night.
Kate Chesney, Lapo, and Jim Barker, who must be having flashbacks to 2012. Chris Jones, Scott Milanovich, Orlando Steinauer.
Right.
A lot of the class of that Argo team that won the Grey Cup in 2012, and he was the general manager. Barker was.
This is why you play the game right here, Taylor Powell. 1:39 on the clock. Put some points on the board, taking the length of the field, see what you got.
The Hamilton 20. And Powell does get rid of it. To face some pressure, and up across the 30 goes Tim White for a first down for the Ticats. A minute and a half to go, still plenty of time, down 15.
Pressure coming off the edge. You're going to see it come off the edge up top here. Taylor's going to climb the pocket. There's the edge. Climb it. Eyes downfield. Just flick it to him. I like his poise in those situations. Show me a lot.
That one's Duke Williams. There's his second catch of the game. Had one
Konar
very early on, and yeah, Adam Konar taking him down.
Zone coverage, Rod. Drop in your zone, see it play out in front of you, come up and make a tackle. Konar's been doing that a while now. Chip off the old man block right there.
Father Kevin, remember him with the BC Lions.
Teammate. Beast. Taught me a lot about the game.
Second and 5, Powell. That is complete to Butler.
There you go.
And he gets some yardage after the catch, and another first down, 104.
He knew where the sticks were. Just took a little time to get there and figure it out and put people where he wanted them, and juke and jiving and slipping tackles and got enough. Love it. Plenty of time, 104 on the clock. Calling timeout. Oh, there's a man down on the field, Rod.
Yep, injured Edmonton Elk getting some attention there. Just over a minute to go until halftime. It looks like the middle linebacker, Niles Morgan, the team's leading tackler. One of the top tacklers in the CFL. Chris Jones, Scott Milanovich. Well, they go back to the 2007 Montreal Alouettes. They were coaches there, roommates, good friends. And later, Milanovich got him onto the Argo staff in 2012. And these are people involved in this game tonight who have connections to the 2012 Toronto Argonaut team.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're old school and new school. What they're doing now, the hats they're wearing. Boy, there's a lot of love there. Talking to him on Zoom calls, you really get a sense of that. A lot of respect. Whole lot of John back and forth. And the man with the chalk in his hand on the grease board, the man with the pen in his hand usually wins. Scott Milanovic and Chris Jones wore each other out for years, being roommates doing that.
Back in their Montreal days, Jones said he'd make the dinner and Milanovic would get the drinks and they'd talk football all night. Well, here's Butler up near another first down and still 52 seconds to go.
I like it. That ball was on time that time. Gave his back an opportunity to turn it up, get what he could, and get out of bounds. Nicely thrown ball. It doesn't look like much, but it makes a difference when you throw in rhythm and get it out there in a hurry so he can turn it up.
Just inches away from another first down. 52 seconds on the clock as Powell. He gives it to Butler. First down and more. James Butler still breaking tackles, and he gets it down to the Edmonton 40.
I mean, he's doing that like it's not like he's in his backyard with his younger brother. These are professional football players that are trying to tackle him. He's shedding them like they're not even there. Nothing was there. Put his foot in the left ground. AC Leonard didn't have it. Just leaving a wake of Elks.
And fans aren't liking the fact that Cole Nelson is down now with Edmonton.
Well, like I said, Rod, I was playing around, but it's hot and muggy.
It is. It looks like
guys are wearing out,
cramping up. And Orlando Steinauer.
45 seconds on the clock. Getting a lot of help from James Butler, making some good decisions, getting rid of the football. Seeing it downfield, making plays, and Rod did it on the 30 and the 41-yard line. Points are knocking, and you got to take advantage of this.
We just saw that graphic with Butler, so he had those numbers up. He's at 101, over 100 already in this game in combined yards. He had 167 in his best game of the year 5 weeks ago in Edmonton.
127 of them on the ground, as you mentioned early in the ball game, 40 of them elsewhere, and they all count. And when you're looking for some footing and to get back in a ball game, number 9 is not a bad option to lean on. James Butler, he was fun to watch last year in BC.
Well, in that game 5 weeks ago, in week 6, the Ticats added to the Elks' misery, winning 37-29. Although they lost another quarterback, Bo Levi Mitchell, injured a couple of times this season. Matthew Schultz was knocked out in that game, and Taylor Powell went in, threw a touchdown on his first ever CFL pass.
There it is, stick it on.
Powell here, and he completes this one to Tim White.
Nice open
32 seconds now, just outside the 35.
Doesn't look like much. Clock will stop until the referee blows it back in if he spots the ball. Andre Plou's all over it. Offense is on the line. Look at Taylor Powell work. Ball off. Here we go. Come on.
37.
Oh.
Clock is ticking. 4-man rush. Powell escapes. Serezna after him. He completes it, though. He finds an opening, and that gets down inside the 20. 18 seconds now. That's Tyreek McAllister.
I think you got 3 plays here, Rod. You don't have to push it right now. You can still be conservative. Check it down underneath if you have to. And Taylor Powell's been doing a nice job of that. Patient, very accurate with those throws.
8 straight completions now for Taylor Powell. And that's 9 straight. And that's Tim White again. And he's down, approaching the 10. Second down coming up. More importantly, though, 9 seconds on the clock. Looking to find the end zone and get this a little bit closer before halftime.
And they're making a big change here. It looks like wow, they're kicking a field goal. They're like just taking points here.
9 seconds left and on second down.
I don't get that. You take a shot in the end zone there, one-on-one. Tim White one-on-one with Duke Williams or something. Check it down. I think he had plenty of time, but we'll never know.
It sounds like fans aren't getting it either, and the decision by Orlando Steinauer now to bring in Leggio as Vedvik puts it down, and Leggio does put it through. And the final play of the first half does lead to more points for the Ticats, who are trailing, but now 21-9, an 11-point difference, and an impressive first half, especially by the Edmonton Elks offense.
No question, Rod. He played with poise. He saw the field. I thought that Jarius Jackson, his new offensive coordinator, put him in great positions. They took shots. They had a trick play with Taylor Cornelius to AC Leonard, and I really believe that Trey Ford was on his game and showed the country why is the Heck Crichton Trophy winner in 2022 in the first round, 8th player picked in that draft. Fantastic first 30 minutes of play.
Engineered a couple of touchdown drives, and here is Trey Ford now with Matthew.
Trey, how satisfying is it? Because execution takes preparation to see you guys control the time of possession, and some of those trick plays get you guys down the field.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think those trick plays, like when Taylor stepped in, he did a great job. Gave us a really big spark, another opportunity to score. But we got to still execute, and we got to come out and play 4 quarters. You know, this is, I feel like, where we've been struggling is coming out this second half, so we're going to be ready.
I've seen some of the Ticats defenders trying to get in your ear. How do you go ahead and tune them out? Because there's some trash talkers on the other side.
Oh, yeah, they like to talk, but I mean, people like to talk. I don't have to listen, so.
And how confident do you want this team to be coming out of the locker room, given the lessons you learned last week against Winnipeg?
Yeah, I mean, I think not just last week. I think, you know, the first 8 weeks, 9 weeks we played, you know, we struggled coming out at halftime. So, I mean, we got to learn from mistakes, and we got to come out after this and definitely perform. So,
thanks for this.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Well, Kate, the Elks have another lead on Thursday night. What happens when they come out of the locker room in the second half is a big question.
Matt, they put up 22 on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We were all in absolute shock, and then Winnipeg came back to win that game last week. What will happen in this one? The Tiger Cats with a tiny bit of momentum there to end the half. But let's talk more about the Canadian QB, Trey Ford. And I know we mentioned, too, that Hamilton's defense does not look great at this point, but kudos to Ford. I mean, 8 of 9. He's got a pair of TDs so far, and he's just looked really comfortable in these 2 starts.
Yeah, he has. And kudos to Jarius Jackson. Like, their offensive coordinator, that's an enviable task. He comes in, he goes against Winnipeg. Now puts up 22. Today he's got 21 in the first half. And this is an offense we saw, you know, in the first half of the season. They didn't have a quarterback that they liked, including Trey Ford. Otherwise, they would have played him. And the offensive line isn't great. They've come out the last 2 weeks, and this young kid out of Waterloo with his 4th start has looked really darn good. And Matt just said it. Jarius Jackson is calling a great game. He's mixed it up. I saw some juice in Trey's legs early. He looks like a young quarterback the way he was running, not a guy in the midseason. And then you saw them mix it up with the run game. You saw it. Then when he took the shots down the field, he was accurate. He was nice double move there, gets Dunbar routes up the halfback. That's a great route. And the times and the shots they took, Trey hit them. So you have a quarterback who's, yes, Jarius is calling a really good game, and Trey's showing his athletic ability, but also when they do dial up the shots, you guys know this, the quarterback's got to hit those shots or he's kind of all for nothing. So very impressed with the combination of Jarius and Trey and what we've seen both weeks, the last 2 weeks.
What I thought was really impressive was in the first quarter, Hamilton didn't get on the field at all. Why? Because Edmonton had 2 big drives, and they were into the wind, and they got 7 points into the wind. You want to keep, when the other team has the wind, you want to make sure you minimize their amount of plays. That's what they did great. When they flipped it to the second quarter, on 2nd and 1, I love the call that was made by Jarius Jackson. And let's take a look at it. What you're talking about is when you look at your film each week, and you see on short yardage, they don't play with a safety. They put 12 people at the line of scrimmage. What do? You put in a play-action pass. Chris Edwards here is looking into the backfield. He's not looking at AC Leonard. Taylor Cornelius throws this ball on the outside to create a huge explosive play to get them closer to the end zone, and another touchdown now. So I thought the execution was excellent by the Edmonton team.
Well, we talked before the game about the defenses and Chris Jones on Edmonton's side, and then Mark Washington, Orlando Steinauer on Hamilton's side. And Hamilton has chosen to blitz and pressure and play man. And when you do that, you give up big plays. Edmonton has chosen to play rush 4, rush 3. It's basically kind of, I call it a soft, mushy zone. They're just playing soft, reacting to everything up front, in front of them. And Taylor Powell, 13 of 14. That's what you're going to do against a soft, mushy zone. But he only had 125 yards, and they couldn't get the ball in the end zone. Chris Jones is saying, I'm going to make this kid beat me. Where I think Hamilton has taken the approach of, we're going to go after him. He's a young quarterback. We're going to blitz him, and shoot, he got his guys in man.
We're all sitting there yelling, why?
He's stepping up.
Why are they doing that? Why they
and gave up some big plays, and that's what happens when you blitz and play straight man like they were doing. You give up big plays.
You've gone from the lock of the week to soft, mushy zones.
Soft and mushy.
I don't know. You're slipping.
I was back on the lock of the week last week.
All right. We'll talk to the Bombers coming up after this. Mushy.
Definitely don't want to see this for the Bombers and Collaros. We'll get a look at Drew Brown, who we have seen at the helm of this offense. With time, has a man in short. Touchdown, Winnipeg! Brown to the end zone. Dembski, touchdown! This is all on Drew Brown and the job that he's done so far tonight.
To be honest with you, I was shocked. I thought he played outstanding. If they have a guy like him, they'll just keep rolling on.
Taking a look at the rest of your Week 11 schedule. Coming up on Friday Night Football, it is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers taking on the Calgary Stampeders. Saturday, the Alouettes taking on Ottawa. And Sunday, it all wraps up with the Lions and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Back alongside David Sanchez, Jim Barker, Paul LaPolice, and unfortunately for the Bombers, once again without Zach Collaros after going down against the Elks, it will be Drew Brown getting his first start this season. He was great in relief of Collaros in this game. He had 307, a career-high 4 TDs. Expectations in this one, Lapo?
Yeah, the expectations for him is he's just got to continue to play like he's done last week. And this is what is important is the run game for the Bombers takes pressure off him. Everyone last week thought, oh, what are they going to do? They're going to run the football. They're going to run the football. And then they play man coverage, and Drew Brown goes out, and he makes and locates the deep balls. That's what was impressive about him. He's got a great support staff around him with guys you can just throw it up to. You saw one of the plays to Kenny Lawler where he just trusted if I put it in the end zone, Kenny right here is going to come up and make the catch. So he doesn't force bad throws. You got a great run game around him. You got some coaches he's been with for a couple of years. I talked to one of the coaches this week, and they said what we love about Drew is his intelligence. He doesn't make crazy plays. He plays within our system, and he's a very intelligent football player.
Well, how he played was phenomenal. I mean, there's no doubt about that. To come in that game, again, the pressure's different. When you come into a game and you're way behind, you just let her rip and you can get after it. When you're the starting quarterback, it's a totally different type of pressure, and he's going to face that this week going into Calgary. Again, based on his body of work last year, that's one of the reasons I was so surprised by how he played. But this is a huge game for him and for the Bombers, because if they want to win the Grey Cup, they need to have that person that if Zach something happens, that they know can step in and win in the playoffs or in the Grey Cup.
Yeah, you're right. He's freewheeling coming in there and in that situation last week. This week, Brent Monson and that Calgary's defensive staff is pouring over the tape, looking at how they can affect Drew Brown. What you said, Lapo, about the fact that he's been in the system, the combination of, this is what I love about Drew, is that, and it seems rare this year, maybe not in the history, but rare this year, a guy that has been in this system, who's young, understands, but he's still kind of freewheeling and running around and making plays. And that's what kind of excites me about him. He's not only playing to prove he could be their quarterback if Zach goes down, but we all know he's going to be a starter in this league sooner than later. So he's also auditioning for anyone else who wants to cut him a check. And sorry, Bombers fans, don't want to hear that. It might be Winnipeg that cuts him a check, but Drew Brown's going to be a starter in this league.
Davis, that's a great point, because you think about all these quarterbacks, he's been in the league for 4 weeks. He's been here. And Drew's been actually in an organization through training camps and everything, so you would hope he plays to that level.
You just must think it's unfair, too. I mean, all these teams looking for QBs all around the league, and Drew Brown comes in and lights it up in his 14s. Like, really? That was your backup, Winnipeg? Honestly, it's just a wealth of riches. Officially in a weather delay in Hamilton right now. So if you guys have 15 more minutes on Drew Brown, this would be great at this point. But you know what? We're going to give you a break. We're going to
you come back and we get a weather delay.
I know, I'm the jinx. I understand. I probably should leave at this point. You know what? Matthew, Farhan, anyone who wants to come host the rest of this one, totally allowing it. Darren Flutie, by the way, honored before the weather delay tonight into the Wall of Honor at Tim Hortons Field. A Cat legend, to say the least. We will have plenty more television coming up right after this. Time for an extended version of Halftime Stats with Paul Lapolice. You've got 5 minutes, Lapo.
Hey, here's the stats not on here. 0 penalties for the Ticats in the first half. I'm totally excited about that. Yeah, and they're moving 125 passing yards, not many downfield shots, rushing yards 69. They're moving the ball. You know, they missed a field goal and an extra point, or else it's 21-14 and we got a game. We'll see whenever we get back to playing football, guys. We'll figure it out.
Jim, anything stand out?
Well, to be honest with you, the 172 yards by Trey Ford is, it's Trey Ford and Taylor Cornelius, but that's impressive for a first half. That comes out to 350 in a game. Passing. All
right. I'm told now I have to leave. 3 catches, 85 yards. A beautiful TD pass for Stephen Dunbar, but instead we're going to show you this Jumbotron image where it tells the fans that they must leave. But you know who's not leaving? The panel. We're here. Oh, they are going to show the touchdown just in case. Beauty won against his former team. We've got more analysis coming up right after this. Time to do the job I've always wanted to do, become a meteorologist. Well, here is the weather radar for the city of Hamilton, Ontario. As you can see, it doesn't really look great. They're expecting the storms to clear out around 10 o'clock, which really isn't that bad, but I really don't know what any of these lines mean, so I could just be making this up, to be quite honest with you. But look who's at the game, Marshall Ferguson. Now, we said earlier, we talked about the commentators that are a jinx to weather delays. Myself, I think Farhan's never had a weather delay. Matthew Shinetti had one, and I'm pretty sure Marshall Ferguson has had every single one. So even though he's not working the game, he still showed up. So this is all Marshall Ferguson's fault tonight. But you know what? The one thing that we've have seen tonight is another tremendous game by James Butler. He had 127 the last time these two teams met rushing yards. He's got over 100 combined already in this game. He's got 69 on the ground. And it's interesting, too, at the beginning of the season, I think it took a lot of us to realize, okay, what was happening with him? Why weren't we seeing the same James Butler we did when he was with the BC Lions? These games, I think, give us a really clear indication that he's still there and he's clearly moving in the right direction now, Lapo.
Yes, 17 touches last week, 8 catches last week. So somebody you can drop the ball down and get easy throws to create first downs. He's running the ball well. You know, you talked about soft, mushy zones. Well, when somebody's going to play zone and drop everybody out, you've got to be productive running the football. And he's done that. When you get those opportunities, now you can put yourself in a position where hopefully you get them into second and short, 2nd and 2 to 3, when you are going to get less zone, more man-to-man. Now you can take 1 or 2 shots downfield for the young quarterback, Powell. So I love Butler as a football player. They just got to keep feeding him, but they got to stay, you know, they got to make sure that Edmonton doesn't keep getting their big plays, Jim.
Yeah, well, they're, you know, again, they're using him not just in the running game to attack, you know, to attack the front of the linebacker, and like you said, the mushy zones, but they're using him underneath, and he catches everything. I mean, I can't recall seeing him drop a pass. So when you have a running back that can do those kinds of things, the next thing I'm guessing they'll do is they'll have him start detaching and kind of what Andrew Harris does, run routes, where he'll actually run slant routes and become a threat as a receiver. So, again, Davis, I think that you know, Butler's a key guy to this whole thing because they don't have right now a quarterback that they can say, this guy we can win with. So it's got to go to somebody, and it might as well be number 9.
And this Elks defense that we talked about it earlier in the half, they're probably happy that James Butler's rushing the ball because they want to drop back, they want to play coverage, they don't want to give up the big play, and that's really a formula I think they're living with. Taylor Powell having to nickel and dime them down the field. Can he make 10, 12 play drives to score? That's I think a formula for Edmonton right now that they want. So yes, they're happy. Hamilton is happy that they're rushing the rock and effectively, but on the other side, I think I feel pretty good about what's happening as an Elks defense.
What's very interesting is Chris Jones is the defensive coordinator. He's got a weather delay himself. I think part of his head should be going into last week. I had a pretty big lead. I played a lot of man coverage in the second half, and Drew Brown picked me apart. So I expect to see more zone. Let them try to continue to do what you guys are saying. Drive the length of the field. Offenses defeat themselves with penalties, other things like that. We know Hamilton's the most penalized team in the league, so that'll be interesting to see his adjustment.
Like you talked about with Drew Brown, he's not like the Powell. Powell's been in the league since the beginning of training camp. The end of training camp. He came at the end of training camp where Drew Brown has been there. And again, Jones is not. He's not going to give this kid easy throw. He's going to let him have easy throws, but not easy throws that are going to be beaters. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
He's not going to allow those creases that are 18 to 20 yards downfield that can eat up yards in a hurry.
You know who this weather delay really hurts, and it's just got to be messing with their mind, is the Elks.
Of course it did.
The whole conversation in the last couple of weeks has been what? Like, we are where we're at, and we can't finish. And what is it? What do we got to do to finish? And what's the issues? Now, here they are with the lead, and now we're going to have a long delay. It's just further, making it difficult for this team to.
I was going to ask that question, too, from a coaching perspective. We saw how Winnipeg adjusted, right? It was so instantaneous at the beginning of the third, what they did in that second half. Now that you have an extended delay to watch everything that you possibly need to watch to adjust what you need to adjust, this has to benefit Hamilton, does it not, from a coaching perspective?
Yeah, the Elks are going to say, hey, keep doing what we're doing. And you're going to have a call sheet and you say, hey, we haven't hit this yet, this yet, this yet. You're going through with your players talking about, these are the things I want to look at. You guys have done this great. You look at what you're doing very well. Is the defense playing how we expect them to play? If they aren't, what are our adjustments? And for Hamilton, they've got a lot of adjustments to do on defense, figure out what's going on with the Elks.
Question for you. Question for you. You're in this situation. You have a young quarterback in training. I feel sorry for Jarius in this situation, and you guys have both been there. But you want to preserve your lead, but you also have to stay aggressive. But you don't want to put your young quarterback in harm's way by dropping back and throwing the ball and potentially turning the ball over. How do you try to middle that a little bit and not put him in bad situations yet stay aggressive?
I'll say this. Last week, we know Trey Ford had some comments, and Chris Jones was very good in correcting him. It's like he has to worry about his job, right? Not anybody else's.
Stay in your lane.
Kevin Brown last week he only had, after 8 minutes of the game, guys, he only had 7 carries for 8 yards. Right. So they have got to get him involved in the second half of this football game to take pressure off Trey. And, again, when they come up and give him an opportunity to take the shot downfield, he's got to take the shot downfield and make the play.
See, if I'm Jarius, I'm going to continue, like I say, continue doing what I'm doing. Maybe disguise. I don't want to change the stuff I'm doing. I don't want to all of a sudden. Well, the one thing that Trey's not doing, he's not dropping back and sitting in the pocket.
Right.
They're running the ball and he's play action. He's moving around a little bit, and him running the ball is such a big thing. I give them some new formations, so they're worried about who do I cover, where do I go, and things, and not concentrating on him and that type of thing. But keep the pressure off of him. Don't make him sit in the pocket. That's not what he needs to do right now.
Dunbar Jr., the former Tiger Cat, having a huge first half. He's got 85 yards. He got 3 nice catches. He got 2 TDs as well. But when you watch the game, do you think the presence of Geno Lewis has actually helped him just because of the attention that the Hamilton Tiger Cats are putting on Geno Lewis and maybe leaving Dunbar open a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be. You saw the one for sure, the double move in the middle of the field. He was one-on-one. I have to go back and look at the tape and see if there was, safety help shifted towards Geno. But you would expect that that's what you're going to do if you're playing. If you're the hot player, I can tell you if I'm a coordinator, I'm a high player, I'm shifting my help toward Gino because he's deadly on those, outside deep shots. But yeah, I have to go back and look at what they're doing film-wise. But I think that is definitely, given even maybe just a boost a confident boost to this whole receiving core.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't think he's thinking about any of that. I think he's getting man-to-man, and he's saying, okay, I got my man-to-man route is here, and he's not thinking, where's Gino, and what can I do there? I don't think they're given they haven't run much quads where they isolate him. They haven't done things to try to put him out there in space, and which you don't want to. This is his first game back for the whole season. So, he needs to break in slowly and come back that way. But I don't think Trey even,
whether Trey is not the safety
still
probably
helping
is.
him.
Yeah.
What I loved,
no question there.
What I loved is when that blitz was coming, on the touchdown in the first quarter, Trey saw that it was coming. They added in a protector. Now Trey knows the guy covering the protector is gonna run full speed in a bad mood and hit him in the face, and he throws the touchdown to Dunbar, gets hit. You see him on the sideline after. So that's a great play for a young quarterback to make.
Mm-hmm. We've been talking about how bad this team is the whole year long. Does this really look like? And I've kind of defended them continuously because I think they're in. And if Milt was here, he would say, "You are what your record is." We know what Milt says. But I say it over and over again. I don't think they're that far away. I don't think they're that bad. Now they haven't won. So they're bad. They haven't won. But another example, again, right now, last week, first half as well. Like they have decent pieces. They're putting stuff together. They have talent. They have a good staff. I don't think they're that far off. And I know I keep saying it.
I agree.
But I believe it. Are they the bottom tier of this league? They're not in the category of the Winnipegs and the BCs and the Torontos right now, or the Montreal. But the bottom tier of this league. Do we really think that Edmonton's that far away from the bottom three teams in this league?
Well, I would say this: there's only two tiers right now, right? There's Winnipeg, Toronto, and the BC Lions, and then everybody else trying to climb back in that. You got the Montreal, you got the Montreal, Calgary, Ottawa, right? Are kind of figuring out, but all those teams have struggled for some games, some stuff.
How dare you put Montreal on the same tier as Ottawa or Edmonton or
we'll find out this weekend.
Hamilton.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, let's get you to Tim Hortons Field now. Our Matthew Shinetti is standing by with Jameer Thurman.
I guess mental obstacle tonight with the rain delay. How do you make sure you and your defensive teammates kind of keep just focused as you wait and wait and wait?
I mean, we just got to stay ready. We got to hone in on details, It gives us time to watch the film on what just happened in that first half because that was unacceptable.
When you take a look at that first half, especially the time of possession, what exactly were they doing to kind of maintain momentum and stay on the field?
I mean, trick plays, double moves, that's all they did. You just got to be ready for it. A team that wants their first win, we got to know. We got to be prepared for that. So we got to come out with a different mindset in the second half and shut them down.
And I imagine communication right now, making sure everybody's locked in?
Absolutely. Communication is key. Making sure we're all on the same page, understanding the game plan and working it and executing it to perfection.
And I imagine, too, do you also look at what you guys are eating over the next hour? Because you want to keep your energy levels up, too, because now it could be a long night.
Yeah, it could be a long night. It probably will be, but, guys got to make sure they're taking care of their bodies and doing the right thing.
Thanks for the show.
Yep.
Little extended halftime for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Currently a weather delay in Hamilton, hoping we get to play some football shortly. We will have plenty more coming up right after this. All right, Saturday evening action, or afternoon if you're on the West Coast, sees the Montreal Alouettes in Ottawa taking on the Red Blacks. The Red Blacks, of course, coming off that absolutely thrilling game against the Toronto Argonauts. Still peeved that I missed that one. But this is a very interesting matchup, and still the health of the Alouettes, we're still waiting on Cody Fajardo. Heck, we waited to an hour to game about the health of Cody Fajardo in the last game, so this will be interesting. But for Ottawa, too, I mean, they're showing those signs. We were just talking about the top tier of the CFL, the Argos Argos, the BC Lions, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but then that middle tier. And Ottawa's played very well in some games that you can maybe put them into that middle. But when it comes down to this game, Jim, what are you particularly looking for, even with the injuries that we know we're already seeing?
Well, Ottawa's a team that has played decently, and they have a quarterback who's shown some promise, and that's a real positive. On the negative side, they've only won 3 games. I mean, they're still not winning games, and they need to get out of that. You know, they're playing pretty well, and they're making a run. And I really felt against Toronto, they played about as well as they could play, and it just weren't good enough. Again, it's a combination of a lot of things. This week will tell a lot. They're at home. They're playing a solid Montreal team, whether it's Caleb Evans or Fajardo. I'm tired of worrying about who it is and waiting until the last. Whoever it is, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both very similar. They both run. They both throw okay. Doesn't matter who it is. They better win. Ottawa. They're at home.
And there are some things Ottawa's doing very well. Defensively, they're first in the Canadian Football League in takeaways. They lead the CFL in takeaways, and that's what you have to do as a defensive team. Also, they're first against the run. So they stop the run, they get takeaways. They've given up a ton of explosive plays. They've given up the most touchdown passes, the most biggest plays in the CFL. Obviously, they got to clean that up, but they're doing a lot of good things. You know, Ackland was involved last week, and Dustin had his best game. So this is an interesting game. Ottawa at home, trying to get another home win. I'm looking forward to this. This might be the game of the week to watch.
I enjoy watching Montreal's defense. They fly around, and I found, a defense that doesn't have a lot of big-name guys. It's kind of been this year a bit, and it's previously there's been a lot of defenses. We know the defensive players. They might move around a little bit in the league. I feel like there's a lot of new guys that are coming out and playing good football and early. And this anyway, Ento's been excellent. I think what Noel Thorpe's doing out there with these guys, just giving a lot of different looks, his own pressures.
Explain Sean Lemon. Explain what the Lemonator has brought, because they're a different team with him.
He's a playmaker. That's what it is. We joke about Sean and him being an older guy, and Sean's a fun guy. He makes plays. That's the difference between a guy like Sean that can play 13 years, however long he's played, and other guys. There's a lot of guys who have the talent that Sean Lemon has. He's not supremely gifted. He's got great instinct, and he makes plays, and the game slows down when it's a big moment for him.
It just seems like guys around him make plays when he's there.
Yeah.
That for whatever reason they didn't make before, and now they're making. And that's I wanted to ask you about that because you were a defensive player.
But that's why we were all questioning too how long it took for a team to sign him, because we know what happens when he's on a defense. But good on the Alouettes. All right, we are going to go live to Matthew Shinetti right now, who's at Tim Hortons Field with the latest weather update. Matt.
Well, the latest is it's not raining, and that's causing a bit of frustration, not only with the Ticats players, but the fans in the stands who keep asking me where the rain is and when they're going to resume play. I think I can at least give a little insight on the second part. I was just speaking to the officials, so it's about 5 to the top of the hour is when they're going to reassess the situation, and if it is clear, we did see a little bit of lightning on the horizon. If it is clear at 5 to the hour, then they will bring the players on the field, and it'll be a 10-minute warm-up before we resume play. But you did hear me talk to Jameer Thurman about diet and eating during one of these delays, and there's a reason for that. I was talking to the Ticats before the game, and they told me the story, and I will take out the opposing team and the day of the game because it might give a few hints, but there was a rain delay just a few years ago here at Tim Hortons Field, and I was there for that. I do remember it. The Ticats were able to source some healthy food that really kept their minds in the game. They came back and they won the game. And when the Ticat staff was clearing the visiting locker room, they found hot dogs. And so the Ticats have taken note of that and have going to maintain that they're going to make sure their players have the best food possible. But I did mention to you, Kate, off the top of the show, that Kenzie Lalonde and I are kind of going back and forth right now in terms of weather delays, as is Marshall Ferguson, who is here tonight, as you already mentioned. Marshall and I are tied right now with 3 weather delays. Maybe he gets a half for being here, and I won't say he caused this, but his presence maybe has brought the weather, or at least the delay, to say nothing else. And Kenzie Lalonde right now is second, or third, I should say, with 2. So, that is right now, given all the delays that we've had this season so far, the one that everyone I'm sure is keeping their eye on, or really wouldn't want to have it either way. But right now, There is no rain, as you can see, but we will see at 5 to the hour if the players will get back on the field, Kate.
So a weather delay with no rain. Wow. And have you ever seen that?
Never. I got a question for Shooter too, though.
Go ahead.
I mean, how many pro games have you played in, Shooter? I mean, what's wrong with hot dogs? I don't think there's anything wrong with hot dogs.
The nice hot dog?
I mean, Ocho Cinco ate McDonald's his whole career and played 15 years. There's nothing wrong with hot dogs. Kids, hot dogs are good, and
No, don't lie to the children at home.
Hot dogs are fine.
You know what, I'm going to say this, though? He's talking about Kenzie and him going, how many weather delays? We're number one. This is what we do all the time, isn't it?
Nothing better.
All right, so we'll keep you posted on the weather situation. No rain currently in Hamilton, but a weather delay nonetheless because of lightning in the area. But we will get you back there as soon as possible. In the meantime, more from the panel right after
Bring
this.
us some hot dogs, Slurpee boy.
And this is how fast the weather can change. Matthew Shinetti, nice and dry before the break. Absolutely pouring in Hamilton right now as we are officially in a weather delay. And with more on the game, let's send it over to the guys calling it. Here's Rod and Matt.
Hey, Kate, you wanted rain? We got some rain for you now. And by the way, I'll start with correcting my faulty math. Not 11 points, 12. And, of course, I should know that. The Elks are familiar with 12-point leads at the half. They had one last week over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and couldn't hang on. So whenever they do get playing again, Matt, I assume that's got to be something they're thinking about.
Yeah, I love what Matthew asked Trey Ford right there at the halftime interview. Of course, you're going in with a 12-point lead. You know, you're used to that, you know. And Trey said, yeah, we just got to figure it out. We know we got 30 more minutes to play. And I think what they've been doing, and speaking of Trey Ford, his play has been outstanding. I really think that Jarius Jackson has been just calling a brilliant game and playing to his strengths. And this is his strength. It's like, it's not there, pull it down. And then you put pressure on him. And he's taking a couple shots now running the football. What you're going to do as a professional athlete, and you're this type of style of quarterback. And I got ugly in a hurry for him there, but standing in the pocket, throwing a strike down the middle of the football field, finding Dunbar for the first of the touchdown passes. And then this one was a second. Again, he showed you two aspects of the quarterback play. Reading the defense, standing in there and delivering and throwing a touchdown pass. Break and contain, drawing the defense in and keeping your eyes down the football field and finding Dunbar again. He's been spectacular, and I think this is what he has to continue to do, and because this is his strength. He can't read a defense 24/7. He can't, but he can. Jarius Jackson understands that, so he's been putting him in some really good situations, high percentage throws, and then when they got tired of getting picked apart, it's easy to see the difference in the change in the back end of the defenders. And he see cover zero. He read it beautifully, and he stood in there like a seasoned vet and delivered. It's been a well choreographed first half of this Edmonton Elks football team.
And kudos to Jarius Jackson too, mixing in some Taylor Cornelius and you know, engineering one of the touchdown drives. Yeah, really, especially on 2nd and 1, and using AC Leonard, a defensive lineman, who was a receiver before and soft touch in the past and everything else. Now, getting back to Ford, though, only one incompletion.
Right.
And that was Geno Lewis early on.
That was a catchable ball.
That was a catchable ball.
I mean, Geno's going to say that was a drop, as he should. He has to have that throw.
Okay, so what about Taylor Powell then? Another man in his mid-20s, hardly any starts in the CFL, just number 3, and he had only one incompletion, which was a catchable football.
Yeah, what is going on here, right? You know, we got quarterbacks making his 3rd start and a quarterback making his 5th start, and they've only missed 2 passes combined, and both of them should have been caught. What's impressed me with Taylor Powell is his ability to see secondary receivers. Again, a lot of high percentage throws, but he's moving the pocket, keep his eyes down the field and extending plays, and showing me a lot of moxie and what we liked about him when we first saw him. And you got to understand, this guy's got 76 passes coming in tonight he's attempted in the Canadian Football League. That's not many. You get that in practice alone. And he's going out there and dealing the football. Really shocked at the end of the first half there that Orlando Steinauer chose to go for 3 points when there was 9 seconds on the clock. You're knocking at the door. Major'd been great there. I think he had plenty of time to call a play and throw the ball in the end zone to try to make something happen and put a Major on the board as opposed to settling for a 3. But you know, I get it. You got points there. Leggio left 4 out there in the first 30 minutes, and you know, you got to think that those 4 points, possibly 4 more there at the end of the half, being on the table for the taking and not even attempting it, could come into play here in the last 30 minutes.
I remember a couple of years ago, it was kind of a revamp receiving corps because of injuries to Braylon Addison, Brandon Banks for a little while, and they had newcomers, Tim White in 2021, and also Stephen Dunbar. And these guys quickly became names on that team. Talking about the first catch for a touchdown, and this is against his old team. He had 2 years with the Ticats. He had quite a first half.
Oh, yeah, he did. And, you know, it's got to feel good. And there's a double move. Casantona's bid on it, and then it was just a nice placed ball with Ford standing in there taking the hit. And then here, this is Ford extending and keeping his eyes downfield, much like we saw Taylor Powell do, and really playing within himself and making it look easy. And you have to understand, you know, whether it's Dwayne Ford or Glenn Suter or myself talking about these players and Trey Ford's ability to put pressure on the defense with his legs, it's Randall Cunningham type of stuff. Yeah. It is Michael Vick type of stuff. It's Damon Allen type of stuff. Tracy Ham type of stuff. And when you're early in your football career, play to your strengths, and that's definitely one of them.
Okay, Kate, kudos to you and the panel for yet another. He's been a part of that in the past. We got a few drops of rain in our sports jackets, but you know what? Here in the comfort of the booth, we're willing to play. If they want to play, we're ready to go with the second half, but not quite yet. Still awaiting word.
Smitty, you promised me 25 minutes of television. You're 10 short, so I'm going to throw it back to you at some point. But needless to say, Lapo, you brought up a really great point when Matt and Rod were speaking there, and it was the technology aspect. And back in the day, and I don't want to go back in the day, this and that, but these young quarterbacks that are now playing, they didn't have the tablets. They didn't have the technology they had. And imagine sitting in old Iverwin Stadium in that locker room during a rain delay.
Yeah, if I can start with this, watching that video, guys, and I'm going to start with this quote from Carl Spackler in Caddyshack in a downpour with the Bishop. I don't think the heavy stuff's coming down for quite some time. We should go play for those Caddyshack fans. But yes, for the people don't know, the iPads are great for the players because they get a version. They get every play is cut up. You can see it by series. So the quarterbacks, we got 2 young quarterbacks. They can either be with their coordinators right now. They can watch every play that's happened in the first half. You didn't have that advantage 10, 15 years ago. So now you get a instantaneous, oh, this is the coverage, this is what I should have done, this is what I'm going to do. And I think the point that's real important is the facilities now in the Canadian Football League. I was thinking about this rain delay. I spent many years with the Toronto Argonauts, other teams, and that Hamilton visitor locker room was a not very good place.
Well, that Winnipeg visitors locker room.
So all these visiting
used
places.
To put water on the floor, right. So you had to, your feet were going to get wet. It didn't matter. He came in and watered the floor before the coaches came in.
So all the home teams had an advantage, and the visiting teams, it was terrible. But with new stadiums, it's gotten better for a lot of these teams.
What we saw in the first half, that's got to be an advantage for Hamilton's offense because on the other side, Edmonton was playing a lot of coverage, a lot of zone. At least this gives them a chance to go back, look at the stuff they're playing, and adapt to it and find ways to attack it. Versus the other side, they saw a lot of Hamilton pressured a lot. It's got a lot of man coverage and obviously wasn't successful in handling it. But I think this is definitely an edge that way.
It's an edge for Scott Milanovic. Learn some new people's names and stuff. I mean,
how many days has he been on the job?
3. He's been on the job 3 days.
It's a brilliant opportunity.
Sure. As hard as it's raining, he could put in another big part of his playbook.
Yeah, put a package in. Let's go.
See, it's a win-win for you tonight, Scott. All right, let's get back to Hamilton. Here's Matthew Giannetti standing by with Tim White.
Well, Tim, many of us, and I know you were waiting patiently, thank you, to do this interview. We were waiting for the weather. It has come now, and we don't know when you guys will get back on the field. So as such a dynamic playmaker, what's your process to make sure your body stays warm and ready?
Just making sure I stay relaxed, not putting too much on it. And then just, I think it's more so like a mental game, so just making sure I'm mentally prepared. And then once I step out there on the field, just do me.
A lot of that mental game right now is learning and adjusting to a new offensive coach. Have you been taking time with this delay? I know you've been waiting for me, mind you, but have you been taking time when you can to kind of talk to Taylor and talk to Milanovic about what they're both seeing and what you guys can possibly exploit whenever this game gets going?
Yeah, they went over what they were seeing, and I think we hit some things early on, and our last drive was really good. So we're just going to continue to work, and then plays are going to break through.
What's on your weather delay playlist?
Man, you know, I'm going to put some Lil Boosie on, for sure.
I wish I could go ahead and say those lyrics, but wow, it is certainly coming down. Appreciate this, Tim, and hopefully we see you. You might need a bit of a wetsuit when we get back out there.
Yeah, it's looking like it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Meanwhile, a guy who wants to get it back out there, Trey Ford, 8 and 9 in the first half, 127 yards, a couple of TDs. He goes out, he assesses the situation. He says, nope, going right back in. It's pouring in Hamilton. More coming up right after this. Trey Ford just stretching it out, waiting through this weather delay like all of us here at the CFL on TSN. Hopefully we'll get back to action at some point. I'm not going to make a false promise and say in the next 10 minutes, but hopefully it will be soon. Meanwhile, we've got some great games coming up in Week 11 of the CFL. The BC Lions, fresh after their 37-9 victory, taking on the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Of course, Mason Fine going down in that game. You can see that one Sunday. It wraps up the week, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. The BC Lions obviously getting back to what they do best. The defense looked great. Vernon Adams looked completely healthy in the game. But for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, too, I mean, this has just been such a rough go, and now they've got this really rough stretch of great teams ahead of them. What are you expecting from this one, Lapo?
You know, they've got to find the way to run the football. You know, Jake Dolegala, a young player, once again, as we see, they've got to find a way that they can take the pressure off him. Defensively, they're second in the CFL in a lot of categories just to BC Lions. They keep people, they do a really good job of stopping the pass. They're really good in net yardage given up. But they got to make sure that Jake can create some opportunities to move the ball down the field and get some points on the board.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think one of the problems I saw last game with what they were doing was sitting him in the pocket. Now, he's 6'7", and there's not a whole lot you can do, but you have to find a way to run the ball. Yeah. Now, I don't know if that means you change personnel and you bring in extra offense, whether you create more gaps, but they need to do something to find a way, because I completely agree with you. If they continue, and their receiving core is getting better. I mean, Sean Bain is establishing himself. They're getting better. But again, without running the ball, this team's going to struggle, and a lot of that comes down to the offensive line. Again, that's been a problem for them for the last few years, and they've got to get, again, a little consistency on that offensive line.
What is the identity of that offense? I still haven't figured that out yet. The Sask offense, I'm not sure what the identity is. And I mean, it was Trevor Harris. That's not their fault. It was Trevor Harris and that, you know, the quick game. And that's
it's really difficult when you've got Mason Fine and you've got Luke Dolegala as Jake Dolegala as your two guys.
Yeah, and Trevor Harris was the guy before that. They're complete.
All three are totally different.
Totally.
So how do you come up with an identity?
Yeah, that's the question.
And you've got a first-year coordinator.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of issues that you're dealing with there.
On the flip side for VA, I mean, 23-32, 322. He did have the one INT, but ends up with 4 touchdowns in this game too, and that was the concern too. And you watch the knee, you watch the the couple games with Dane before that, and could they get their swagger back too? My goodness, and even without Dominique Rhymes in there too, and him and Hatch had such a connection in that game that
that's scary.
It was so scary. But if they are functioning on that level, I mean, they easily are competing for the Grey Cup, are they not?
Absolutely. It was just the one blip, and the rest of the season they've been, for the most part, they're excellent and surprising a little bit. But look, Nathan went down there. We saw great things from what Nathan's doing, which is also a cool story. But Vernon's taken over and really hasn't missed a beat. And I'm happy for him because he's always had the talent, and he's special. He has special gifts. His gifts to me is he's got a great arm, but his gifts for me are that short area quickness in the pocket. We talk about athletic quarterbacks, and it's one thing to be able to run. It's another thing to have that elite quickness between that, that 2 and 3, 4 yards within the pocket. He's hard to bring down. And now that he has, let's give kudos to Jordan Maximek and what he's, been able to do in transferring, to Vernon. But he's really picked up. And to your point, KB, if they're healthy, they're a handful.
Well, they're heading for October in that match head-to-head in BC with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and whoever wins that will most likely win the division, have the bye, and host. So they're on a dead-ahead pace to have that happen. So that's just something to really look forward to.
And I love you talked about a blip they've had a blip of a game or two. Vernon's had one blip, right? He had those interceptions. Toronto. Besides that, he took care of the ball. I loved your point about Jordan. Jordan's done a great job of making him not be a runner who can throw the ball. He's throwing the ball in the pocket, doing really good things. This is a defense that takes the ball away, and they don't turn it over. Lead the league in turnover margin, you're going to win games. The teams that are the best turnover margin in the league, they're in the 1, 2, 3 in the league. And that's standings, and that's what has to happen. Saskatchewan has to find a way take the ball away, stay on the field.
When Vernon was at Oregon and at Eastern Washington, that's what he did. He was a passer. Yeah. And he could run and he could do those things, but he was a passer, and he's become that again. I'm not sure we've seen that from him in his time up here in Canada. And so much for quarterbacks is, what coach are you with? Who are you with? What players are around you? What's your situation? And he's in a perfect situation for him. He got a chance to go in and watch Nathan Rourke. Yep. He got a chance to watch the way that Jordan Maximek wants the game to be played, and it's paying off for the Lions big time.
And not to play favorites, but another reason we like the BC Lions, no weather delays. Am I right?
Yes.
Am I right?
Close the room.
Here is Matthew Shinetti standing by with Manny Arsenault.
Manny, you've seen a lot of things in your career. How have you learned to handle weather delays?
Man, it's just one of them things where you just gotta be chill, stay patient. But I done been on the side where the weather delay hit, you're a team that's down. So it's like, how we gonna pick back up and get things going? And now I'm being on the other side of it with the lead. Now you gotta let the guys know, don't get too comfortable. We still have a task, and that's to win a football game. But the best thing you can do is kind of relax, flip through your playbook, put your earphones in, listen to music, and just chill. And you might have one that's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, but now they talking an hour, which stretches it out. So it's pretty much get off your feet and relax as much as you can so your body don't tense up, and now you cramping. Well, it's just a slow start when you do get back out there.
It's nerves, too, that can play a role in that, too, especially when you have a team that's looking and desperate for a win. So as a veteran, do you also, you don't want it to be a whole comic relief for an hour. You want guys locked in, but you also want to keep them relaxed. Do you take that responsibility?
Yeah, most definitely. And like I told them, man, from the start of the game until we come in at half, man, the mentality is every rep matters. There's no play that's out there that's not important, and it's all about the next play. But I know for us, in a situation we in, searching for that first win, every rep matters. And you know what? That's pretty much what it's going to take for us to get that first one, to get over that hump, is just to have that mentality. Regardless of what goes on, every rep matters, whether it's the first play or the 50th play, the 30th play. We just got to have that mentality and that approach of how to go about football games. And the biggest thing is finishing. So that's what we have to do, come here and finish.
How much does it do? You see the guys kind of taking the energy that Trey Ford brings. He's stretching out here. He's having a good time. He's staying relaxed. Do you sense guys feed off that?
Yeah, man. And that's how it is in the receiver room, man. We compete against each other. So it's like, hey, you know what? Dunbar back home in the Hammer. He having a night. We're going to celebrate that. But it's like, hey, man, you making a play, I got to make a play. But we're going to celebrate our guys. And like we told Trey, take what they give, do what you do. And I texted him earlier this morning, like, look, you've been here before. You've won here before. Just take control of this huddle, take control of this team, and go win a football game. And that's all you got to do, man. But it's knowing for us, having a young quarterback like that, keeping them calm, keeping them poised. And when we on our assignment, that's where the trust built at. So he know he have the time, he had the guys doing what they're supposed to do. And that's the biggest thing to help a young quarterback. Be where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that's kind of the whole mindset.
It doesn't hurt to have Manny around. Always appreciate this, my friend.
I appreciate y'all. All right, thank you, man.
Update on the weather. Looking to get back on on the field at approximately 10:30, hoping to resume the game approximately 10:40. Taylor Powell, he would like that as well. More coming up right after this. In case you're looking for the Tiger Cats and the Elks, it is currently in a weather delay, expecting the teams to be back on the field at approximately 10:30 Eastern and hoping for resume of game approximately 10 minutes after that. Of course, we will keep you updated. But right now, let's get an update on the East standings in the CFL. And the Toronto Argonauts, simply fantastic this season. They are 7-1 at the top with 14 points, followed by the Montreal Alouettes, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and then the Ottawa Red Blacks, who both sit at 6 points apiece. The Argos heading into their final bye already of the season. And with more on that, here's Matthew Shinetti.
Argos, you got me! Argos, you got me! We are the Argos, and we won't be denied.
This season seems like a never-ending Argos highlight reel.
And there's one for the Argos. This will go for a touchdown.
Chad Kelly, front runner for most outstanding player in the league.
At 7-1, the defending Grey Cup champions continue to be the best. 3 byes in the first 10 weeks doesn't hurt the record either. Now it's flipped, and the advantage is gone. Toronto plays 10 weeks straight until the playoffs. That's a lot of football at a critical time. But right now, Chad Kelly is the CFL's big play, big arm. Over 20 percentage points better on passes over 20 yards than anyone else. Helps when the CFL's sturdiest offensive line allows the fewest sacks, or put another way, Chad Kelly has taken a sack on only 3.7% of his dropbacks. Cody Fajardo is at 12.7. Dustin Crum, 16.7. This isn't just what an offensive line can do for a talented quarterback. This is also a good defense. Most sacks, fewest explosive plays allowed, all the choreographed celebrations. And there's just enough team history here to make this regular season begin to feel different. Javon Leake already has as many punt return touchdowns in a season as Bashar Livingston in 2003 and Jimmy the Jet Cunningham in 1995.
Javon Leake waits for it, picks it up. He breaks through again. Javon Leake! Could he be gone?
What a monster he's been for the Argos this season in the return game.
But maybe there's a bit of luck, too. Over the next 6 weeks, the Argos have critical home and aways against the Alouettes and the Ticats, and a rematch in Winnipeg. But it's not the toughest schedule in the East over the next 6 weeks.
These Toronto Argonauts are something special. If we had the award show today, they have a bunch of guys who would win those awards.
And the next 6 weeks could be the rest of the East's only opportunity, because it's not all luck. This is apparently what Ryan Dinwiddie and Pinball Clemens meant when they talked culture building and success. But the Argos in the East still have a lot of football left.
They have been an absolute privilege to watch. Obviously, the one loss against the Calgary Stampeders, but of course it humbles you and you only get better from that. And with Chad Kelly at the helm too, I don't think there's going to be a debate whether or not that this team can make it to the Grey Cup. But Coach, when you look at the schedule, and I mentioned it right before throwing to Matthew Shinetti there, the fact that they are going on their final bye in week 11 of the CFL season, would there be concern with that?
There's no doubt there's concern, because when you don't have a bye and you don't have that, time in late September to say, okay, if we can just get to here, then we can get healed up. So guys sometimes they'll play through things that maybe they shouldn't, and it exacerbates the problem. So
the fact that everyone else does have one, like that's the
there's no doubt everybody has one. So there's no question that this is a concern for the Argonauts, and I know that their staff has talked about it being a concern that they don't have a bye the rest of the way, and hopefully if they win the division, in their eyes, they'll have a bye prior to the Eastern Final. Otherwise, they're straight through.
I didn't mind him early in the season, like if you had one week 1 or even week 2 or 3, because sometimes you guys aren't in shape when they came into camp and they get hurt, and all of a sudden you get them back. But you really want to make sure you space them out enough, and you don't want to have a bye the last 2 weeks of the season because you want to keep the momentum you've had. You know, and it's difficult for Toronto and you spent time in Toronto. It was just so hard when you can't control your facilities back in the Rogers Center days where they give you these dates and they say, here's the dates you can play. So figure out your schedule off that. And that's why sometimes Toronto used to get those quirky dates, I would assume.
It's important. I mean, the schedule is important. I mean, for many years when I was in Montreal, we clinched the East early. So it was, you know, you were dealing with 5-6 weeks where, you know, you were essentially, you know, on a bye or playing for nothing. So how do you manage that? Now that's not going to be the issue. Montreal is just 2 games back, and so they're not going to have that. But it is. But they important.
Have the potential to get a lead. They're going to play them twice in September. Montreal.
Yep. Well, and Montreal has Winnipeg next week, too. So,
right. So there's a chance they can create some separation for themselves and take a little bit of that pressure off, that if they need to rest some guys, they can do that.
That might be the answer to not having a bye, is to really, you know, put your foot on the gas in the next month here and try to create that separation where you can have that last month or 3 weeks.
And I would say this, Davis, like, you're right. I think about all those times you were in Montreal. When Montreal had it locked up, they had a month to sell out the Big O, to put 50,000 people in. It's great for your organization. It's great to put people in the seats when everybody knows. It's not the week before the game you figure out first place. It's such a huge advantage if you can continue to go through with that spot. Right?
One of the other things they've done in terms of roster composition, I just know this because I happen to be there, is they have 3 American offensive tackles, and I'm not going to say they rotate them, but they're comfortable with any one of the 3, but between Tate and Cage and DeJohn Allen. And then they've got the 3 defensive linemen on defense, the 3 Americans, Brinkman and Oakman and Hendricks. And, you know, they do that they've got Andrew Harris, who hasn't been used much, and he's just going to be that much stronger because Ouellette's done a lot of it, and they'll be able to put him in. So the roster's composed so that they're able to get guys rest even during their season, and I think that's a real value.
But the only concern would be the depth at quarterback, would it not?
Well, I mean, nobody knows what the depth is.
Well, that's all I'm saying. Dukes comes in, and no, we all don't know the depth. No, that's all I'm saying is, look, I think all 3 phases have played so well. I mean, when defense picks them up, when the offense wasn't clicking, we saw that at Touchdown Atlantic. Special teams has been great. I mean, think overall, if this team comes together, they're the most complete team by far in the CFL. But as I said, I don't think it's an advantage whatsoever having their last bye coming in week number 11. But we'll see. They have been a force to be reckoned with, to say the least. Speaking of forces to be reckoned with, that is Marshall Ferguson. You know why? Because this is what happens every time he shows up to a stadium. This is a selfie video. Hey, Marshall, it's you.
Did I do this?
Still a weather delay in Hamilton, expecting the teams to be back on the field at approximately 10:30 Eastern, resuming around 10:45. With a Sports Center update, here's Jen and Dutch.
It is wet in the hammer. Wet in the hammer tonight. As you know, it is raining. We have severe weather in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario. So the Elks and Ticats game is in a weather delay, and there are worse ways to spend your weather delay than with us right here on Sports Center. He's Dutch, I'm Jen, and apparently those guys need a little break from all their talking down there.
Well, yeah, I mean, right now they're headed underneath the concourse. They're going to crack a few cold ones, just like the people, in Hamilton.
I was just, are you talking about the panel, or are you talking about the players?
Well, I'm talking about both. Okay. Well, not the players, the panel and the fans. We hope everybody is safe, and they're going to resume football in just a little bit. I mean, come on, here you got an Elks team that's 0-9 on the season. You know, they can't win a game at home in years, and they're literally leading leading, and what happens? They get lightning and a weather delay? Are you kidding me? Edmonton still in search of that first win. Canadian Trey Ford getting the start for a second straight week. First quarter, Ticats blitzing. Love this play. Ford gets popped, but he delivers. It's a strike to former Ticat Stephen Dunbar Jr. It's my favorite time. It's Tutty time. Last year, Ford made his first career start against the Ticats in Hamilton, got the win. This year, puts the Elks up 7-0. Let's go to the second quarter. Taylor Cornelius in for the short yardage situation, and take a look at this. Fakes the sneak, throws it up for defensive lineman A.C. Leonard, who makes a great grab. He brings it inside the 10. Leonard came into the CFL as a tight end, but he was converted to the D-line back in 2016. Those are nice mitts. Then on 3rd and short, Cornelius back in. This time, he does sneak it in. Gets in for the touchdown, puts the Elks ahead 14-6, and they keep on coming. Later in the second quarter, Ford going deep down the field.
Football player, he can sling it all over the yard.
Looking for Dunbar, and it's a money pass. This play goes 47 yards. And then just 2 plays later, Ford, who looks really good in this football game, rolls out of the pocket into the end zone, and he finds Dunbar again. Elks up 21-9 at the half, but keep in mind they did blow a lead against the Bombers, in which they were up by 22. As you know, second half currently in a weather delay, so we're just trying to ride this one out along with the panel. Dunbar played the last 2 seasons in Hamilton. He had 10 touchdowns in 29 games as a Ticat, so this has to be extremely redeeming for him. I mean, any time that Edmonton has the lead, and they have had numerous opportunities this season to try and snap their winless streak, only to have it slip through their fingertips. So we're like, okay, let's have a Randy rule. Randy and Brosie come in and just say, all right, and I know Ticat fans would not be happy about this, but let's just shut it down. We're going to give Edmonton the win. The Elks get the victory, and we all move on. But that is not the case. Obviously, they're going to play it. Eugene Lewis is making his return for the Elks tonight. So we will update the football game and get you back to Kate and the panel in just a moment or two. Jim Barker, by the way, he's like a lawyer on retainer right now. He's just high-priced.
He's just billing?
He's high-priced, and he's just filling time.
Yes, I do have some good news for you. We have had word from Hamilton, and the players are just about to take to the field once again. There's going to be a 15-minute warm-up for both of the teams to warm up and get back in the game, and they are expecting to resume play at 10:35 Eastern Time.
You know, and our panel does such an outstanding job. You know, they really do.
I agree.
Great filling.
Keep her going. Enjoy the rest of the game, guys.
Well, still a weather delay in Hamilton, but the great news is we're expecting the players to be on the field at any moment with kickoff under 15 minutes away. I said it, so it has to be true. Elks currently leading the Tiger Cats 21-9. We thank our friends over at SportsCenter for giving you the updates on all the sports around the world. But let's get back to this game at hand. And halftime started at approximately 8:50 Eastern time. So we're looking at just under 2 hours that these teams will be sitting. But specifically, let's look at these young quarterbacks. And Trey Ford had a great first half and building off that performance against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And for Taylor Powell, too, I mean, a little bit of momentum at the end of the half. How does this affect them, in your opinion, Chaz?
Yeah, for a quarterback, it'd be a little bit different than for a skill player. I know for these guys are probably spending a lot of time with their coaches, talking and going through pictures. I know for a skill guy, I'm putting zero emotional energy, emotional ramp up into anything until I get that 15, 20-minute call, until I know what's going on the field. I'm going to just stay loose. I'll ride the bike. I'll stretch. But in regards to, getting fired up or trying to get back going, I'm not doing it because you don't want to have to go through the lull again. But I know for sure once I hear that 50-minute call that we're going to get, then at that time I start to get emotionally ready as well. But I think the quarterbacks are probably spending a lot of time with you guys and going through the pictures.
See, I don't think these guys are young. They have no idea what they're supposed to be thinking about or any of that. I mean, it's not going to affect them mentally at all. Physically, you know, maybe the field's going to be wet and it's going to affect Trey, you know, his ability to run. I mean, the other guy, he's not going to run at all, the Hamilton quarterback. So, again, it might affect him that way, but Lapo, you know the way these kids are just happy to be alive and playing quarterbacks for their club, and they're not worried at all about, you could delay it for 3 or 4 hours and they're going to come out the same way.
Yeah, they're probably saying, who's got it better than me? I'm getting paid to play pro football, right? Huh? I don't care. I'm not as concerned about the players as I think about, like, Taylor Powell. He's like the stats just said, 13 of 14, 125 yards. Not a lot of yards. Why? Because they're playing zone, but he's getting completions. What concerns me watching him last week is the Hamilton Tiger Cats had 4 drops last week as a team on offense that stopped drives. Yeah. They've already had 1 in this first quarter. In the first quarter, they had stopped a drive. They've been sacked 3. He's been sacked 3 times, and I think those are more on the offensive line than the quarterbacks. So I think the quarterbacks are fine. The whole team's got to play better for these young quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's veteran players. Yeah. It's veteran players you got to worry about because they're the ones who, you know, they're thinking about other things.
No, we get tight and stiff and all that, but
their bodies. Yeah.
We can't, like, I don't think we can express this enough. The pressure right now and the anxiety that's on these Elks after everything that's gone on and them having a lead right now. The pressure is huge. I know we're talking about the warm-up and, yeah, the same for both teams. And not even close. The Elks, all the pressure because of what's happened previously of these guys. Imagine, I'd love to have, we had cameras in both rooms, but seeing both teams and their mindsets as they went through this. Like, obviously, Hamilton's got some issues as well. But the way Edmonton has lost and what they're sitting at with 0 wins, the way they've lost, having leads, there's a lot of pressure on them right now. The tension in that room is, I'm certain you can feel it.
Let me tell you something. Hamilton is coming off of a bye week, playing a team that hasn't won a game in their home yard. You don't think there's pressure on those guys?
So you're telling me, let me tell you something. You're telling me the same amount of pressure is on Hamilton after we talk every sports center segment, every post-game segment, every pregame segment. When's Edmonton going to win? Is Chris Jones getting fired? What's going on in Edmonton? You're telling me it's equal? Come on, Jim.
Well, Hamilton's got a bye, coming off a bye, just made a change of coordinator. Like, there's been a lot of things they've been doing to try to fix their mistakes. And if they lose if they go ahead and all of a sudden lose to, you lost to Edmonton after a bye? So there's a lot of pressure for both teams.
Absolutely.
I think the coaches got to do a great job of making sure they try to make this situation as consistent as possible for their players, right? You don't spend too much time going over too much game plan stuff. You talk about it, but you got to give the players space to prepare and get ready because they're the ones who got to get focused, ready on the field.
Plus, Jones said he's got 24 players that are in their first or second year. I don't think they feel all that.
They're just really happy to be alive.
I really don't. No, I really don't think they feel that pressure the way, you know, an Ed Gainey might or all the coaches
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I was going to say, but
they don't understand the magnitude of this.
You know, we just went to, obviously, Chris Jones here, but right before that, Orlando Steinauer. I mean, you got to think at this point that he's feeling the pressure. And you're right. I agree with the fact that if you end up losing to the Elks, who haven't won a game all season, just everything that they've been through, there is a little bit, and, you know, making the change, too, with Tommy Condell. Like, that's a lot of pressure on O now, is it not?
Absolutely no doubt. That was one of the toughest things he's had to do because Tommy Condell is one of the top offensive coordinators in this league. Yeah. And to have to tell him, I'm going to make a change, that is as tough as it gets. And Scott Milanovic comes in, and now here he is. He's been there 3 days. I guarantee you, by the weekend, it's going to be like, what is wrong with Milanovic? He's not the answer. I mean, that's just the nature of fans. It's the way it goes.
Great game, horrible business, as we've always heard that quote. The thing I keep thinking about is I see all these guys warming up, and I see the coaches now trying to get back in. I had a veteran football player early in my career as a young coach. I tried to give them all the information and talk to them before the game and as the game's going on. And he said, Coach, you got all week to get me ready. Game day, Leave me alone.
It's interesting.
Right? So it's
And that
very
was Don
interesting.
Matthews' thing. Don Matthews was, don't talk to the players.
Yep.
Go find whatever you want to do. You guys can talk among. Don't talk to the players.
Yeah, so that's
And
their
you played
day.
for Don.
Yeah.
You know that's how he is.
I love him. Get it done. Absolutely.
But he gets veteran players. He understands.
Absolutely. The whole, we got to start to shift because we're about to get back here. But the whole, point of changing just for change is bothering me. I mean, you just made a point, and you guys agree at how good Tommy is, and you're saying he's one of the best in the league. Well, then why are we shifting? Why are we shifting? Because we have to make a change. It's time for a change.
Because they felt that.
Because someone has to fall, right? Someone has to take the fall. And McAdoo takes the fall for the Elks so far, and what happened with Victor, too. Like, nobody really knows, but yeah, that's exactly it.
I always enjoyed,
I don't like that.
As a coach, I always, putting his film on. I was always going to be like, all right, I want to see what Hamilton did to attack this.
No, but I say this, though. You said no one likes to change. No one wants to get fired. No one wants to lose their jobs. And we don't want to, advocate for that. My point is that if you're making change because the change you're moving to is better, and there's something else that this person brings that you don't have or you're missing, you're not doing, whatever that is, that's one thing. But just to change because there's pressure from the fans or the media or
I think it was a staleness that maybe happened.
Well, then tell him to switch up, change tempos, change from formations, move some things around. If you two offensive guys been around the league a long time, both think that Tommy is, if not the best or one of the best OCs in the game, then why would you get rid of him? Now you just lost.
I wouldn't.
But we're not in the building, right? I mean, that's why he gets paid. That's his job, his role, his responsibility.
And I've worked with both of these guys.
I have glorious news.
Oh,
do you want to hear
glorious.
what it is?
Yes.
I'm going to go to break, but after this, football.
What?
Yes.
Oh, for him.
Back at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton, Rod Smith, Matt Dunnigan here with Matthew Shinetti, as some fans have stuck around and waited over an hour and a half, a long weather delay, but yes, some still there and waiting to see if their Hamilton Tiger Cats can come back in this one. The Edmonton Elks looking for their first win of the season, and like last week, Matty, a 12-point lead at the half. This one a little different for a few reasons. One thing, the long weather delay. Also, Trey Ford, this is his 5th CFL start, his 2nd straight this season, and he has looked very strong leading that offense in the first half.
Yeah, I really like what Edmonton's doing offensively. Jarius Jackson putting him in some really good spots. The ball's out early. If not, he's pulling it down and wreaking havoc with his legs, which we know he can do. He can do that as well as anybody. I think the only guy close to him is Vernon Adams and possibly Dustin Crum in the Canadian Football League right now. We haven't seen an athlete like this, I think, go back to Damon Allen and what he was able to do over his 23-year career. Trey Ford has been on fire, throwing the football, very accurate, making good decisions, taking care of the ball in some bad conditions. And we're going to see if that's going to play a factor in the second half here, the ball being a little slippery.
Well, Taylor Powell has had a solid first half, only one incompletion. I mean, James Butler, they needed to get him going, and they did certainly on that touchdown drive.
Yes, they certainly did, and I think that's your Scott Milinovich, new offensive coordinator. Guy has had tremendous success in the CFL. You know exactly how to get that done. Pound it. Give your young quarterback an opportunity, or even your veteran quarterback back in the days when he had Ricky and Anthony and just wreaking havoc on defenses. He's doing the same tonight with that guy right there, James Butler, getting the most out of him, both on the ground and through the air. Need to do some more of that in the next 30 minutes.
We'll look at Gavin Cobb and also CJ Sims. Edmonton received the opening kickoff to start the game. Hamilton had won the toss and deferred. The bigger priority for the Tiger Cats is the wind in the fourth quarter, which they'll have. They'll be against the wind now for Mark Leggio. A long time later, this game has resumed. Second half begins. It is Sims with the ball across the 40 as he slides down with Kyle Wilson coming over the top. So up to around the 45. Back comes Trey Ford. 8 for 9, 127. 2 touchdown tosses to Stephen Dunbar.
Yeah, and see if he can pick up where he left off. I think he will. I think he's feeling it. I think they got a good game plan. I think he understands the numbers game that he's looking at right now and what Jarius is trying to get accomplished. And it's nice to be on the same page with your OC and in a rhythm, see if he can jump back into it. You saw the short kickoff and the wind play havoc on that. That ball didn't travel very far at all, and Edmonton's got decent field position with basically no return.
Things have cleared up, but that wind remains strong, blowing north, right to left. Trey Ford takes the handoff and lots of room to go on the bootleg. He gets across midfield and he takes it for an easy first down. And just like the first possession they had, he had 3 straight runs for 28 yards. A big one there, Matty.
Yeah, he's coming out the edge. You know, he's going to come out the backside here, and it's going to be Sunday Adeleke, who's probably one of the fastest DBs in the league, and he looks like he's running in mud, trying to track down number 2. Getting a little love from his teammates as he made that look very easy moving the sticks.
His first carry since that opening sequence when he had 3 straight, a gain of 18. And the Hamilton 48 comes Edmonton. Handing off that time. Shannon Brooks. And just picks up a couple of yards. It'll be a 2nd and long ahead for the Elks.
And just looking at that run, you know, that was one of the only times I've seen Trey Ford run a play into numbers, meaning the defense had more numbers than the side they were running the football to. And I think, you know, that's a teachable moment for himself and Jarius Jackson when they watch the video tomorrow of this football game. This one is like, why don't you check to the right here? And you can see the outcome, no gain.
Yep, they bought that right where it was before. 2nd and 10 coming up now. 4-4 with time, and he completes it to Manny Arsenault. His 2nd catch of the night. We mentioned way back in the first half that he extended an impressive career record, 138 straight appearances with at least a catch.
I had to double check that when I saw that stat in 2010, and I'm going like, what? That's a long time ago. And that's a lot of catches, and that's a lot of work and effort. We know that that guy puts it in like no other, and that's why he's out there continuing to do it. Manny Arsenault.
Objectionable conduct. Hamilton, number 49.
They would have had him off the field there, Rod.
It would have been a 3rd down.
Penalty that will give a 1st down.
That's the first penalty of the night for the Tiger Cats, and it's a big one. It's Trey Crawford who's called for the objectionable conduct after that catch by Arsenault. So it is moved down now to the 33 of the Ticats, a 1st and 10 for the Elks.
They had him off the field, had him in 2nd and 10. They threw a cross underneath. They made the tackles, didn't get to the sticks, and then you take that play. Whew, that's a tough one. See, that's exactly what Edmonton did last week when they fell apart in the 2nd half. 2 penalties in the 1st half, no turnovers. 8 penalties in the 2nd half, 2 turnovers. And Hamilton's gifted him an opportunity.
By the command center, there's also a foul for objectionable conduct on Edmonton number 62. This is also a misconduct foul for 10 yards. So it will be 3rd down.
The left tackle, Martez Ivy. So
that's
incidental objectionable conduct. So as it turns out, they are pushed back, 3rd down.
Tip for tat right there, you know, and you just can't have that.
So it goes back to being a 3rd and 5,
which is great for Hamilton. Looks like they're staying out there with
Trey Ford is still out there now.
With wheels like that, this will be fun to watch. This is a new dynamic here. 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, you're still considering it. Looks like they're going to try to run an offensive play and move the sticks.
Well, remember, going the other way in the 1st quarter, they got it down to the 43 against the wind and went for it and nearly had a big, on a 3rd and 3, and nearly had a big one to Eugene Lewis. So this time, with the wind, not going for a field goal, going for it on 3rd and 5 Ford. He has time. He looks deep right. Oh, and it is broken up. The intended receiver was Dylan Mitchell. He was open briefly, and then the coverage converged. Javian Elliott there, and so just like the 1st quarter, opening possession, the Elks turn it over on down.
He's right here, just going to run a go, and the ball's got to be out. Look who takes it. Least path of resistance inside. Get it out there. Get it out there. That ball hit him right between the 1 and the 7, I think. Oh, it did, right through the bread basket.
Kenneth George reached up but didn't touch it. You're right. He had a shot at this one. So a similarity with Eugene. Eugene Lewis looked like he could have caught it near the goal line in the first quarter. So Ford has put it in there, and now a challenge is coming out from Chris Jones.
Who could be challenging? He looks like he motioned to his head. Having a pretty heated discussion there.
Edmonton is challenging the previous play for defensive pass interference. The play will be reviewed.
Well, Command Center will try to sort this one out, but this is what Chris Jones was seeing. Was that PI?
Yeah, so the play happens right at the line of scrimmage here, and as he takes an inside release, least path of resistance is what Dylan Mitchell is doing here. Press coverage, one-on-one opportunity, pitch and catch, 3rd and 4, least path right there. Here is where he feels like the PI was going to happen. I think that's where the challenge comes, because nothing happens there. In fact, that's a catchable ball by Dylan Mitchell.
So Kenneth George on the press coverage there. Was that pass interference?
After review by the command center, the ruling on the field stands. Edmonton is charged a timeout, and they're out of challenges.
Wow, what a turn of events there. You know, first we thought Hamilton took a misconduct after the play penalty, and then, it was decided that Edmonton took one as well. So it went back to 3rd and 4, and then the challenge there, and Hamilton's got the ball in pretty decent field position.
You saw Javian Elliott there, who's the one that came across, made contact too. So it's another turnover and downs by the Elks. So once again, Hamilton, second time in this game, take over on downs at their 43. Here's James Butler, over 100 yards combined in that first half. 69 on the ground, but just a couple there. Second down coming up for the Ticats.
You got to figure Edmonton had a little time to button up their run defense in the first 30 minutes, because James Butler was making it look easy.
Had some good games against these Elks. Mentioned in the first meeting, 127 on the ground, 167 overall.
That's all right. Take some of that.
Second straight game, combined yardage over 100. 2nd and 7. The Ticats at the 46. They're down by 12. 3-man rush. It's complete to Tim White. Out of bounds, just over Adam Kona.
Yeah, and I saw him dropping off, and well, that was a tight window closing in a hurry as Adam Konar knew what he had felt behind him. And he's backing up in the area outside coverage, and this ball's lifted right over the top of his fingers. Tim White to tell him how good that route was. I think it was a better throw.
Taylor Powell, 14 of 15, and that one incompletion was one that should have been caught. So here we go at the Edmonton 49, out for Tyreek McAllister. They get him in space, and he is taken down there by A.C. Leonard, who has a catch himself in this game.
That's a yeoman's work right there. A.C. Leonard tracking down McAllister in space on a hit screen. You got to go. You got to go a good 20 yards to get here, and you better be sure when you do. Comes inside out, takes him down. One ankle, that's all you need.
That is 11 straight completions. Short passes predominantly for Taylor Powell, but still going to work here in a 2nd and 6 at the Edmonton 45.
Man coverage, you should be able to run the football here.
He tries to get away, but he can't elude. That's Ross on the play. Daniel Ross with the tackle.
Yeah, Rod,
third down.
Rod, watch what I'm seeing here. You've got two guys deep here, and everybody else is in man coverage underneath, right across the board. And when that happens, quarterback lanes really open up right in front of you, and you saw Taylor Powell trying to get there, and he just got tripped up as he was getting the open field because he had some room in front of him if he gets there. And I understand that. I had a couple 69-yard touchdown runs, and I had to creep my way about 40 yards downfield till finally somebody realized, hey, Dunnigan's running the football. And then I managed to get the next 29 yards myself, but that coverage will get you beat right there, 24/7.
Corey Vedvik to punt it away from midfield against the wind. It comes down around the 10, takes a hop towards the Elks end zone. Picked up there by Dylan Mitchell, who was hauled down on special teams. Sean Thomas Erlington.
Good to see him out there contributing.
His third game this season, Sean Thomas Erlington. And Edmonton is pressed deep. At halftime, before the weather delay, the Ticats honored one of the great receivers of all time, Hall of Famer Darren Flutie, with 5 years in Hamilton. His name put up in the Wall of Honor there with Paulus Balliston. Great teammate of Danny McManus's too, in several places, BC and Edmonton as well. But in Hamilton, they won a Grey Cup together. Ozzie and Darren Flutie, 4 times, Matty, out of his 5 years, 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah, you see the love there by his teammates, and those are forged through fire and good times and bad. And boy, Darren Flutie was involved in so many good times for this football team. What a magic pairing it was with Danny McManus and watching them do their thing.
Here's Trey Ford trying to do his thing, but Casey Sales has other plans as he takes Ford down. And that is the first sack registered by the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the night.
Yeah, surprising that they kept him in the pocket there. Might have given him an opportunity. Casey's right here, and he's going to come right back to him. He just stymies his man, gets rid of him, sheds him, finds his way to number 2. Big time play there.
And the 3rd sack of the season for Casey Sales in Edmonton, just barely out of the end zone. A loss of 4. They're down to their 2. 2nd down 4. Under pressure again, and this time he will take off. Backtracks and just tries to throw it out of bounds.
That was pretty heads-up play. Not that he lost much, but he was going backwards for sure. He stumbled coming out of there. Looks like Hamilton had at least 3 or 4 defenders spying him underneath, anticipating him using his legs, not forcing it, turning the football over deep in their own end. So either take a safety here or punt the football. The wind at your back, you gotta think they're gonna give it a boot.
Just the 2nd punt coming up for Jake Julian, assuming he does punt it away.
Mark Washington maybe got his defense settled down now.
Well, that was arguably their best series, I would think, of this game. That Edmonton's offense really had it going in the first half. And
timely as well, Rod, backed up.
Definitely is. Now, Julian does have the win. From Barrie, Ontario, Jake Julian. And they bring some heat, but he does get it away to midfield. Tyreek McAllister takes it to the 50. Here we go, McAllister! Inside the 20, 10, 5, touchdown Tiger Cats. And there are flags down.
Yeah, it was a nice kick. 55 yards, 53 yards in the air. Might have out-punted his coverage, and then McAllister did the rest.
A couple of flags down, Matty, and is it coming back?
Eerily reminded me of Lawrence Woods taking one back in the game we referred to with Trey Ford last year, getting his first win on Canada Day. Woods took it all the way back and really gave Hamilton a big boost at that point. Edmonton still found a way. Now they're getting help from the Hamilton special teams unit with a little
There
holding.
are 2 fouls on Hamilton. Holding Hamilton number 43. Illegal block. Hamilton number 8. That penalty is declined. First down.
So they flag Carthel Flowers Lloyd, who's a special teams star for the Ticats, their leader in special teams tackles, but a penalty there on 43 right there.
Yeah, it's right there. You can see it all day long right in the middle of your screen.
James Butler driving up towards midfield, just a yard or so shy, but picks up 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Ticats.
That is it's tough to swallow if you're a Hamilton fan. Right there, there's the hole. Yeah, he got him pretty good. At the point of attack, it's an easy call for the officials, the right one.
So it gets up to the 54 now. And a 2nd and 6. Taylor Powell. He's to pass. He steps up. And he has a receiver too. It is caught for a first down.
There you go.
Anthony Johnson making up for a drop in the first half as they will move the sticks.
Yeah, that's a real pretty catch right there. The sidelines knowing exactly where he's at, working back to the quarterback as Taylor climbs the pocket and scrambles to his right, spots his receiver. That's a pretty grab right there.
Gets it to the Edmonton 46. The Ticats.
Work back hard. Work back hard. You're working for his quarterback now.
Trailing by 12. Edmonton had a 12-point lead at the half against Winnipeg last week. Powell, lots of space ahead, and he takes a slide inside the 40. As it'll be a 2nd and short coming up for the Ticats.
Yeah, Scott Hutter was coming in, all bent for leather, and abort, abort. Milt would say it's a business decision. Me personally, I would have taken him on. Watch Hunter.
Yes, you would have.
He recognizes this. He's coming. I like it though. Taylor's figuring this out. He's got enough there. He's got enough juice in the tank to make defenses pay attention.
He picked up 6, a 2nd and 4 at the Edmonton 40. Hands off to Butler. Right side has a hole. Hits that hole and then drives for more. Keeps those legs chugging to get down near the 25 and another Hamilton first down.
And again, it's watch the right side. Just move up there and steamroll defenders. He doesn't get touched about 6 yards down the field, and the rest is Butler. Making people miss, getting you a little yak.
To the 26.
Feels like this is a scrimmage now because of the fans not in the stands. Maybe 1,000, 1,500 people left after that storm.
Some diehards still here after that long weather delay. And on the 1st and 10, Konar coming in, or excuse me, that's Tony Jones coming in, the Edmonton linebacker, and not much there, about a yard that time for Butler.
I think this would be a win for Edmonton. They get a stop right here and force a field goal attempt. You know, that's what they're thinking.
Just inside the 25 now. If the Ticats can get in the end zone in this possession, of course it gets interesting, especially for an Edmonton team that has not been able to win yet this year. That'll help them out as they push them back. Jake Seresna with his 2nd sack of this game, and that is number 6 in the season for him. And remember, they are going against a wind here, and that pushes them a little bit further back to the 35.
Oh, just a bull rush. Just dominated left tackle. Woo-wee. Kemp said, ouch. That's going to look bad on film tomorrow.
So that puts them back just outside the 35 for Mark Leggio, who was 1 for 2 in the field goal department. Also had a missed extra point in the first half.
And wind is a factor here.
And it is. They're against the wind, and Vedvik will be putting this one down at about the 43.
He and Vedvik hadn't had much time to work together either.
This came over last week in a trade with Saskatchewan. For that, oh, it really took a break left. It started straight down the middle. And here's a return by C.J. Sims. Takes it out, gets it across the 20 up to about the 23, as it looked like Leggio had it, and then some real English heading off to the left as he misses that left upright, and Sims takes it out. So no harm, no foul against the Elks, who hang on to their 12-point lead late 3rd quarter. What weather delay? Some fans chose to stay. Wanted to see the Ticats get back in it, but that gust of wind, by the looks of things, blowing mostly down the length of the field, but Leggio's field goal try just took a sudden turn to the left when it looked like it was going straight down. So Kevin Brown, the Elks, with the football, as Brown has that carry up closer to the 30.
Yeah, so you look at that sack, puts him back there. They don't take that sack, ball just thrown in the ground somewhere. You know, it's a much easier chip shot or field goal attempt. A lot of points being taken off the board with the kicking game right now if you're the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Yeah, and you did your point you were saying before during the break that it can look like it's going one way, and we even saw those flags on the top of the upright on the Leggio kick take little gusts to the left, but it's...
We saw a guy with Darren Flutie's celebration of putting his name on the wall of honor here, Paul Espaldison, who knows all too well about the Hamilton wins that Ivor win. Mark Leggio here, Tim Hortons Fields getting a pretty good dose of that tonight in education about the wins off the escarpment here in Hamilton and how nasty it can be.
Really can be. Well, that carry by Brown is not enough for a first down. Ted Laurent in there, and Dean Payton, or excuse me, that's Jake Julian coming on now.
Laurent, though, what a staple. There's Ozzie. Yeah, he's up on the wall, too. Guy was incredible.
One of the great kickers in the game's history.
It's like, you know, it was like a golf swing with Ozzie. You know, he could just position it, kick 20 feet right up the right goalpost and have it curl in. He knew what was going on.
Jake Julian with the punt.
That's a big one. Uh-oh.
With the breeze. And the flag does come out. McAllister getting up just across the 30. A weather delay of more than an hour and a half. They got playing again, and it is still the Elks leading it 21-9 late third quarter.
While the ball was in the air.
The new offensive coordinator of the Tiger Cats, Scott Milanovic, taking over for Tommy Condell, and been a bit of a quarterback whisperer over his years, extensive experience in the CFL, now working with Taylor Powell. Let's go down to Matthew Shinetti.
Perfect segue, Rob, because part of that resume is how Scott Milanovic educated both Zach Collaros and Trevor Harris into the Canadian game in 2012 and 2013. When speaking to him before the game, I asked him about his process. Is he trying to get in the head of his quarterbacks to see the pictures that they're seeing on the field, or is he trying to understand them as a person? He said it's a little bit of both. What he's looking to do is to kind of understand what will stimulate how they see the game, what motivates them. And the one thing he said about Powell after having Collaros and working with Bo Levi Mitchell now, and obviously also Trevor Harris, is that Powell likes intensity. He wants to learn. He wants parameters in his game, and he wants to be able to go play to play and know what he's doing wrong to improve. Milanovic, after 3 days of coaching, likes that of his young quarterback.
And Powell liked that kind of instruction he's been getting, and he goes to work. Here he completes it to Tim White up at the 30. A nice catch. He went up for it, and he is taken down at the 40. So this impressive performance by Powell continues too, as he still has only one incompletion.
Yeah, he's coming across the formation here. He's going to end up over there, and he's going to pluck this out of midair. You see Powell just at the last second. Oh. That's a nice catch, nice play on both ends.
By the way,
look at that.
Yeah, I was going to say, and they started a lot deeper after the punt because of a penalty while the ball was in the air. Really swung the field with Edmonton kicking with the breeze at their back, but that play helps them get out of the hole. Big one, White. Big one here for Butler as he keeps running well and running hard and up to the 50 and close to another first down for Hamilton.
Yeah, it's working. Keep pounding, killing on the left side. Little help there with 39. Felix Garan-Gauthier. I like it. Extra blocker. Not that James Butler needs it tonight. He's making people miss every time he touches football.
Kyle Loxley used to play for Edmonton, got cut earlier this season and signed on by the Ticats, and he did a lot of this for the Elks last couple of years in short yardage. So Loxley, the backup quarterback in this one tonight, gets the first down against his old team. He was a member of Hamilton for the game 5 weeks ago in Edmonton, but wasn't able to be a factor in that one as his new team beat his old one.
specimen of an athlete, though.
He really is.
It makes your mouth water, and your coach is like, boy, I can do something with that guy. He's got to figure it out. Receiver, quarterback, whatever it may be.
I remember the Elks last year, the year before, trying to do just that, take advantage of his athleticism at quarterback, too, as Butler gets it up over midfield. Another good carry and first down for James Butler. All right, it's still a 12-point difference, but they'll go the other way. They will have the wind at their backs on a stormy night here at Tim Hortons Field. The fourth quarter is coming up. Can the Elks hang on for their first win of the season? At this point in time, the cynical Edmonton football fan is saying, yeah, but last week they also led Winnipeg heading into the fourth quarter, but they hang on to that 12-point lead. No points at all in that third quarter after a long weather delay as you look at the three-quarter stats, Matty.
Yeah, and when I look at them, it's kind of deceiving. Hamilton came back and they added to their totals, and you can see that is verified in the column there in the stats. But what I was looking at was the football and the field position that they didn't take advantage of and come away in that 15 minutes with 0 points. They're on the Edmonton side of the football field the entire time, and they came away with 0 points. And before the end of this quarter, Hamilton was backed up in their own end. It was like mind-boggling. It was still a 12-point lead, and now Hamilton's advanced into Edmonton territory again and got something going.
And with the win now, I mean, they won the toss. They wanted the wind in the fourth quarter. They have it as it begins. Down 12, throwing to the left, completing it to Tim White. Down at the 36 of the Elks.
I think that's the most impressive throw I've seen by Taylor in his short, young career. And this is impressive. Somebody in his face, he spots it out there perfectly to Ted White, moving the sticks.
First and 10, the 36. Tries to dump it off to Butler, but it is low.
You watch his feet, right, Rod?
It's the field, yeah, and falls incomplete, second down.
Yeah, watch his feet. His feet are going one way, and he has to drop his arm. Just watch your quarterback here. His feet are going to go one way, drops his elbow, and he tries to sling it out there, and it's just not going to work out for him. Yeah, it's just... But he's mechanically sound back there. It's one of the first times I've ever seen him get out of his cylinder like that.
Ends a streak of 14 straight completions. Just the second incompletion for Taylor Powell. Second down. Can the Cats come back? Can the Elks hang on? Fourth quarter questions. Powell escapes to the right with Ceresna giving chase and Curtis. He takes off. He gets a first down for the Ticats on the ground.
I mean, come on. That's beautiful. That's exactly what you need here. This kid's figuring it out before our eyes. We caught a game here several weeks back in his first start, and he's doing it all. I mean, he's pump faking 6 yards downfield over the line of scrimmage and making defenders kind of hesitate, buying himself a few more yards and move the sticks. Taylor Powell, nice play.
Down to the 25 of Edmonton. Once again, as they did in the third quarter, Hamilton is getting closer. They had nothing to show for it then. With the breeze behind them. And a look into the end zone. No. Intended for White. Ed Gainey was there. So too was Marcus Lewis as that ball did sail a bit with the wind.
Yeah, it sailed, and it fooled Ed Gainey as well as Ted White. And I think it just floated. And you can look at him right here. And he's going straight down the football field. And this ball, when the wind's at your back, it's just going to push down the football field. And you can see it just sailing right there and moving hard right to left at the last 4 or 5 yards. Gainey thinks he put the lockdown on him.
So second down at the Elks 25. Early fourth quarter. Powell looks end zone again. This time the other way for Duke Williams, and Kai Gray was with him. And that ball's incomplete, and we've got a third down coming up as the Ticats need some points to get a little closer. And
yeah, Kai Gray, one of those big, tall corners, 6'1", going against Duke, who's 6'3". So really a nice matchup here, and he was like blanketed him. I don't think he's holding him here. I think he's just kind of hands are on him, and hands are kind of just holding him there. That's a nice play by Kai Gray.
They get the field goal. It remains a 2-score game, trying to knock it from 12 points down to 9. This one just past 32 yards for Mark Leggio. And he missed it again. He is having a rough night. He misses that one left as some boos rain down and some frustration for his head coach, Orlando Steinauer, as the Ticats once again have nothing to show for some progress down the field, and it is starting to get very costly for Hamilton. Leggio, only 1 for 4 in the field goal department. It remains now an 11-point game. Coors Light moment of chill. There's a lot of chill time at the half with a long weather delay, but this happened in the first half. Taylor Cornelius fakes him out, and look at that defensive lineman, former receiver, current receiver, A.C. Leonard. What else can that man do? Big play to get them close, and they'd wind up in the end zone there as they took that first half lead. And there's A.C. Leonard, a defensive player.
Yeah, tracking down McAllister in open field on a little hit screen.
Coors Light moment of chill. And on the run now is Trey Ford, getting another reprieve with Hamilton driving down, but only getting a rouge on that play, an 11-point game, and Ford using his legs well in this night.
Yeah, he is, and Simone Lawrence having a heck of a time trying to track him down. He comes off the edge and he's going, oh man, now I got to backtrack, and then he comes back, tries to get a strip fumble there, but decent job of the veteran Simone Lawrence tracking that young man down in open field.
The Elks up 11. Oh, he nearly broke it through even more. Kevin Brown probably thinking with all that daylight if he could have kept his feet, but they did get him tripped up. But another first down for Edmonton very quickly on the move.
Yeah, you see Malik Carney just squeezing down. He tries to get his feet right here in the hole, and he just barely trips him up and kind of stymies his progress right there. I didn't think that Kevin Brown, I think he surprised himself on through that hole, and he just kind of fell.
To the Hamilton 46 now. The Elks trying to close in on their first victory of the season, leading by 11. Just over 11 minutes in the fourth quarter, and that is Dunbar. What a game he had first half. A couple of touchdown catches for the former Ticat, Stephen Dunbar, courtesy Trey Ford.
Yeah, just pitch and catch out here.
Gain of 7, 2nd and 3.
Yeah, he's right here. He's going to sit down right there, and a point fake by Ford getting on the edge. Sticking on him, get you 7. Favorable position on 2nd and 3.
The Hamilton 38 and a 2nd and 2. Faking to Brown, wide open is Benny Arsenault. And Arsenault takes it down inside the 20. Another first down for the Edmonton Elks.
Yeah, all eyes to running backs and to Trey Ford coming off the edge. Forget about guys just slipping in behind you. And you're going to watch the point fake and what it does to the defense. And all these guys are going to kind of hesitate. Right there, hesitate, freeze, and then, man, he's in behind him. Getting a big chunk of change right there. Edmonton, nice drive, response drive to Hamilton's single.
That just kills the Ticats now. All those points off the board, still an 11-point lead. And this is twofold. The chance to add those points, also the chance to kill more clock.
Look at that.
And they go on the sweep there to Kyron Moore, who gets it down near the 10. The 2nd and short coming up now. And Manny Arsenault came into this game needing 18 to reach 9,000. What a great career he's had, and it's had some breaks in it as well. Some time away, but the most career receiving yards for active players ahead of Greg Ellingson. The Manny Show, Emmanuel Arsenault.
Hey, congratulations, Emmanuel. Yeah, you know, Ellie's about the only one that could, you know, go get that 9,000, but he hadn't been healthy all season.
Here we go. Be a backbreaker for the Ticats. Edmonton trying to find the end zone again. Coverage is there on Eugene Lewis. Kenneth George nodding his head no. Coverage was very tight. And we have a 3rd down and 2 coming up here for Edmonton.
Yeah, that was old school right there. You know, just let him play right there. I like that. Typically, you're going to see him right up here. These two going at it. Little outside release. Back shoulder. He back shoulders that, I think it's a touchdown. Jocelyn pretty good on the back end of that. No harm, no foul.
We'd like to welcome in viewers on TSN3 watching tennis. Rod Smith, Matt Dunnigan, Matthew Shinetti here. Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton. The Edmonton Elks haven't won this season. They're 0-9. This is their best shot. A chance to make it a 14-point game here in the fourth quarter. It is Dean Faithful.
Wet ball. Wind in his face.
But short distance.
Yep.
It is put down by Julian. And it is up and it is through. So Edmonton gets 3 more. 2-touchdown lead approaching the midway point of the fourth quarter. Chris Jones knows all too well to take nothing for granted at this point, the way it's gone this season. Well, no doubt if you followed any news coverage this past week, just the devastating wildfires in Hawaii, in Maui, and there are many in the Canadian Football League who do have a connection to the state of Hawaii. With more, let's go back down to Matthew.
Maybe the person amongst all of those who has the strongest connection to Hawaii is the Ticats special teams coordinator, Jeff Reinbold. He put out a tweet just today talking about his connection to the state, because as we all know, we're increasingly talking more and more about weather and its devastating effects on so many communities around the world. Well, we've seen what's happened in Maui, and Jeff Reinbold lives in the Big Island, and on the Ticats bye week, he was driving back to the airport in Kona, and as he was driving, he saw the devastation in Maui. He was taking a long scenic route, and he said it reminded him of the images he used to see in high school when those teachers he had in history class would tell him about the devastation of World War II. And he's asking, and the Hawaiian word for prayer is pua. He's asking everyone, donate whatever you can. Check out the Red Cross, but send your prayers to Hawaii and the people of Maui. Guys?
Thank you, Matthew. For a drop by Anthony Johnson, Taylor Powell on second down is taken down, sacked again. And this time it is Niles Morgan coming in, the middle linebacker. So a costly drop for the Ticats, putting the Elks that much closer as they're about to get the ball back. The punting unit is on for Hamilton.
Yeah, and his effort, and he's coming right here, right through the middle. Quarterback's going to kind of get washed into him as Seresna's coming out. He feels that. This is his.
C.J. Sims on the punt return after that kick by Corey Vedvik, and Edmonton football. And
that was a quick 2-and-out, Rod.
It was, and aided once again by a drop ball. But you know that
tough night.
It has been a tough night.
Tough night for Johnson. 84.
No, go back to 4-5, baby.
Got to have those. Well, want to crawl back in this game.
You know, the Elks are in a situation now where this is as close as they've got this season, really, and that even includes last week with a 14-point lead and now halfway through the fourth quarter. I mean, they should qualify that. They were close against Saskatchewan in week 1. They were close against the Riders again. I'm talking in terms of the lead that they have right now of 14 points. They haven't been in this situation.
I understand what you're saying, Ron. And this is what they're up against right now. It's,
you know, this doesn't even mention, I mean, obviously we don't talk about the home losing streak and a night that they're on the road, but there's one streak that they'd love to put to bed and worry
race
about.
it up the board and get on with it.
Absolutely, and they can worry about winning at home on another day. But as Chris Jones had said, and we talked to him earlier this week, just get a win.
And it's one play at a time. We're not worried about being 0-9. We're worried about winning one game and staying in the moment and being incremental like that. Best way to go about it, handling your business.
Their last victory came September 16th of last year. 13 straight losses. And yeah, the modern day one, the last time a team was in this situation in the CFL, the expansion Shreveport Pirates in 1994, as you saw in that graphic, of 14 straight. But this is a long, well-established franchise, and it's been really rough time what they've been going through.
Rough week. Victor Dewey, duties. Tough one for Tom Richards to to address the media. Thought he did a good job with that press conference. Tommy Richards' chair over there on the board. And yeah, it's just not typical Edmonton stuff that you deal with, but play the game long enough, you're going to go through stuff like that. Chris Jones can navigate through this. What he's asking of his team right now, Ron, is to play 4 quarters of football.
Right.
And they haven't done it this year. They played good quarters, good halves, but they haven't put 4 together, and they just got to lock it down here for another 8 minutes to stay focused.
And Vincent Forbes-Moblow dropping that one to make it a 2nd and 10 at the Edmonton 44. Under 6 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. A long night for everybody with a weather delay of over an hour and a half at halftime. Trey Ford. That's complete. That's Gino Lewis trying to cut around at the 50 and drive for a first down, but he'll still be about 4 yards shy as they have him wrapped up. So 3rd down coming up, and the Ticats will get the ball back with about 5.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, it's just his 2nd catch of the night. 3rd and 3, throws underneath. They had numbers to the left. Got a nice job of Trey Ford doing the little things, taking the clock all the way down to 1 second before the ball was snapped. Smart play, good underneath throw, taking what the defense is giving you. Hamilton rallied, kept Gino in check pretty much all night, except for that one drop ball early in the 1st quarter. Trey Ford hit him on the money on 3rd and 3.
Dean Faithful back to punt. The ever-dangerous Tyreek McAllister, the only returner back standing at the Hamilton 10. This punt, as the breeze continues, and Edmonton against it. Wow. And McAllister's coming in, and all things considered, it got a nice bounce at the 20 and nowhere to go. So down around the 22. Good coverage on special teams there. It's Jake Taylor coming down to make sure that McAllister went no further. The Elks, who could blame them if they could start to hope a little bit more now? Week 11 is underway. This is the halfway point of the regular season, and it continues tomorrow in Calgary. Friday Night Football, the Bombers and the Stamps. Followed Saturday, Maddie and I will be, well, both Maddies and I will be in Ottawa for the Red Blacks and the Alouettes, and Lions Rough Riders to wrap it up at Mosaic. All here on TSN. Can the Elks taste it? Stephen Dunbar, a couple of touchdowns. Still 4.5 minutes on the clock. A 14-point lead. Trying to hang on for that first victory. McAllister used as a receiver there and knocked out by Marcus Lewis. So a 2nd and short coming up, and time working against Taylor Powell and the Ticats now.
Yes, Rod, we will have the gypsy wagons packed and head to Ottawa.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, Montreal, Ottawa, you know that's going to be a hard-nosed football game.
Well, yeah, I mean, the way the Red Blacks were able to keep pace for a while with the Argos last week, the Alouettes coming off a big win over the Riders. So, but this one not over yet. But the Ticats have to find a way to rack up some points in a real hurry now. They're up against it. James Butler spins, picks up the first down. Clock ticking. Under 4 minutes now.
Yeah, you know, tough spot for Scott Milinovic. You got a young quarterback down there. Don't want to put him in harm's way and force the issue, but he's seen the field pretty good, but it's a lot of underneath stuff. Deepest thing he's thrown lately is out to White in the 3rd quarter, but yeah, I'm got to open it up a little bit here. 3:36 on the clock.
Powell took some deep shots last time. Now running around to his right, he has to put that one into the turf. And got a 2nd down coming up here at the 37, 3:25 on the clock.
Heads up play. Yeah, Rod, you're right. They have tried to push the envelope a little bit here, get back in and get some chunk plays, but just hadn't been able to come up with them. They have to connect on one of them. Smart play there by a young quarterback, not trying to force it.
After 14
on the previous
straight
play, that was intentional grounding on Hamilton number 0. The ball will be placed on the 26-yard line, and it will be 2nd down.
Another 25 seconds out the clock. That would have been lost and down, too. Didn't make it across the line, I don't believe.
frustrating season for Orlando Steinauer, too, and a difficult week coming out of the bye, having to fire his friend and longtime offensive coordinator, Tommy Condell. He talked to us about just how sometimes bye weeks give everybody a bit of a break, but this one's been awful for him, and staring down another loss by the looks of things right now, unless there's a comeback. And there's a guy who picks up a sack and a big catch in the first half that helped set up a touchdown. A.C. Leonard, is the boos are coming down and the punting unit is coming on for Hamilton. 3 minutes to go, just under. The warning is given. Caught a pass, made a sack too. A.C. Leonard trying to help lead his team to win number 1 in 23. A.C. Leonard just with a sack. He had a big catch earlier, the former receiver, now defensive lineman, but yeah, the talented Mr. Leonard. Look what he's done in his career, and those catches too with the BC Lions. It was back in 2015 before he went to the Riders, and Chris Jones, his coach then, made him a defensive player. C.J. Sims out across the 40, and well, at the very least, the Elks can taste this possibility of a victory now. Under 3 minutes to go, 24-10, hanging on to that lead.
Just trying to circle that graphic there, showcasing AC's last catch in 2015. It's incredible. And if Chris Edwards wasn't right on him, he gets his head of steam. I think he walks in the end zone on that play.
So up at the 41 now. Trey Ford and the Edmonton Elks trying to put this one away. On the ground, Kevin Brown breaks free, first down, and finally taken down up across midfield.
That'll help. That'll help. Not getting touched. 7 yards downfield. Tunday's just hanging on, trying to get some help from Elliott and the rest of the posse. That's what the big boys love to do, whether you're 0-9.
Edmonton, no end, number 69 was closing the line on this side. This will be a 5-yard penalty, and we're going to replay first down.
Wow. Okay, scratch that. Gain by Kevin Brown. They go back the other way, 5 yards, and a 1st and 15 coming up.
First quarter, same field position, same scenario, 1st and 15. Trey Ford ran the ball twice, moved the sticks. Not a bad game plan. Darius Jackson not agreeing with it. Tommy Dennison behind Darius Jackson there.
Great moment for Trey Ford a year ago on Canada Day. Coming back in his home area. Went to school at Waterloo, grew up in Niagara Falls. And
there you go.
There we go again. Now the last one was negated, and this time Brown takes it a few yards even further across midfield. And yes, that time a first down for Edmonton.
Yeah, and he's just going to hunt it right back in here, and you're going to get leverage right here, and he's out to the secondary. Washed it down. 1st and 15, no problem, Ron.
I'm going to say he gets 22 after the other one was negated by the penalty.
I was going to say before they got that penalty, no end. This is what the big boys like to do. Turn it out, seal the game.
2:13, handing off, keep it on the ground. Churn up some yardage, churn up some clock as well.
Whether that's A.J. Ouellette from the Toronto Argonauts or Brady Oliveira from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, or no matter who it is, that's what they like to do. The big boys like to eat, and the running backs like to turn it out, show their mettle.
Brown did certainly last week early on against Winnipeg. First play from scrimmage. Took it 65 yards for a touchdown. I was mentioning Trey Ford, though, Matty. And that moment, what it must have meant to him in his first ever CFL start over a year ago, back in July the 1st, 2022, as a rookie, to pick up the victory You know, and it feels different this time, he said, a little bit different, but still some nerves and still lots of family and friends wanting tickets to watch him. Don't know how many stuck around. I'm sure that contingent did.
I know you had 22 tickets out there. I bet you all 22 are still
I would
here.
certainly think so, because this, well, he already had his historic moment last year, not only as a Canadian, but a Canadian university player, U Sports player. But as he comes off at 1:41 on the clock, what has been just a terrible start to the season for the Edmonton Elks is close to seeing win number 1, and he has been a big part of this game tonight.
Some confusion here. Looks like they're going to go for it on 3rd and 1. Now they're going to punt the football. McAllister's going, yeah, I'll turn this game around. One play.
So you know, Jake Julian approaches this one as he'll get it around midfield.
Take another 12 seconds off the clock here. Take it down to about 120.
The Elks trying to avoid the distinction of starting 0-10 for the first time since Hamilton 20 years ago. Takes a good roll for Edmonton ultimately, even though McAllister did pick it up and get a couple, but a flag is down right around where the ball was initially taken, about the 12-yard line. So Julian will certainly take that.
Edmonton number 13, 15-yard penalty, first down.
1:12 on the clock. The no yards call against the Elks, but overall, and right really from the start, an offense that's been beleaguered. They changed their offensive coordinator a couple of weeks ago, and this offense has overall had a very good performance, especially in that first half.
Yeah, something about Trey Ford and Tim Hortons Field. He likes it here. You heard Mark Corte there, center for Edmonton, saying, yeah, you're 2-0 here. Yeah, it's good. That's one way to look at it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And for good measure, Coney Ely comes in to take Powell down.
Yeah, everybody gets some. Yeah, enjoy it.
7 sacks now, Matty.
Gotta enjoy it. Yeah, it brought the heat on a young quarterback that's, I think, handled himself.
Timeout, Hamilton.
Extremely well, and Taylor Powell, most situations, but.
Well, we have seen Edmonton lose so many different ways. Shutout twice by BC. Close games against Saskatchewan 3 times in week 1. They had right down near the goal line for what would have been the go-ahead touchdown and couldn't punch it in. There was the close game in Saskatchewan several weeks later when they didn't get the ball out on the kickoff, and that led to the winning point for the Rough Riders. And then you had last
that
week.
That one hurt.
That hurt a lot, and for them, and so did last week when they had a 22-point lead in the Bombers. And even with Zach Collaros out of the game, Drew Brown put on a show, and the Bombers came back. And you know, it's just been that kind of season for the Edmonton Elks.
I think the football guys emptied the bag of ways to lose, and there's nothing left. And Edmonton, to their credit, came out here, performed extremely well in the conditions, endured the weather delay just like Hamilton had to, and found a way to play pretty clean football for the most part. I don't remember too many turnovers that were forced by Edmonton due to trade. There's no interceptions.
And look at that.
Fumbles. Look at that.
You're not seeing a smile yet on Chris Jones' face, but you are seeing smiles around now. That with 46 seconds left and a 14-point lead, that it is going to happen tonight here in Hamilton.
Rondo Steinhauer, as he told us this week, head coach for Hamilton, said, I know Edmonton's not coming here just to compete. We're coming here to win.
A rainy night, stormy night, with the game delayed at the half for over an hour and a half. And yes, we have Elks fans, a Trey Ford jersey, and hanging in on a night that's, well, bad weather, but good result for the visiting team now. Into the hands of Brown. As the Ticats are now faced with falling to 3-6 at their halfway point. Ottawa tied with them, well, although Hamilton's beat them twice, but a big game coming up a couple of nights actually against Montreal.
Yeah, 3-6 on a halfway point. Edmonton, they're looking at being 1-9 right now, and I'm a football team. You got 2-9 next week, 3-9. 9-9's not bad for the for the season.
If they can run the table,
right?
So
that's the way you got to look at it, one at a time.
Well,
run the table, be 9-9, and maybe be in the thick of things.
Niagara Falls Trey Ford is about to go 2-0 in Hamilton in his young CFL career.
That's incredible.
Takes a knee down. Hard to match how he would have felt a year ago in his first CFL start, but this must feel awfully good right now in his second start this season, taking over from Taylor Cornelius, who actually led a impressive drive of his own in this game for a touchdown.
There it is.
Well, we had to wait a little longer to see it, but we can finally say, for the first time in 2023, the Edmonton Elks win. 24-10 is the final. Handshakes, Chris Jones, Orlando Steinauer. And a beleaguered team finally puts one in the win column. And Trey Ford, Kevin Brown. Reason to celebrate, if only on one night so far this season.
Right, I think a lot of those guys just want to go to bed right now, right? But I got to think a couple cool ones are going to be on order. Hey, Rod, long time coming for the Elks.
It sure has, and yes, it's been a long night, but you have to think it feels a whole lot better to the green and gold. Finally victorious here in Hamilton. Thanks for watching. SportsCenter is next on TSN.
Well, I certainly didn't have that on the bingo card when I came to work this evening. Welcome inside SportsCenter. Tessa Bonhomme alongside Kara Wagland. Tessa, when you came in today, did you know that you would be a part of a monumental SportsCenter announcing a historic win for the Edmonton Elks? They got a win, Tessa.
I didn't think that, and I didn't think the rain delay would be lasting that long, and our panel would have to do as much work as they did.
This is true as well.
They were 0-9 coming in to tonight's game.
It was big bad
against Hamilton. It wasn't great. The season, you got to wonder what was going on in that locker room and how tough that must have been for that entire team.
But we have been here before. We've seen them with a lead at halftime before.
Totally. Against Winnipeg, but hey, at least their offense was finding their groove there. All right, Edmonton still in search of that first win. Canadian Trey Ford getting a start for a second straight week. First quarter, Ticats blitzing. Ford takes a hit, but delivers to former Ticat Stephen Dunbar Jr. Now, last year, Kara, Ford made his first career start against the Ticats in Hamilton, and they got the win.
Got them their first win this season then, too.
Foreshadowing here this year puts the Elks up 7-0 to the second quarter. Taylor Cornelius in for the short yardage situation, fakes a sneak that throws it up for defensive lineman A.C. Leonard, who makes a great grab, brings it inside the 10. Glorious play. Leonard came into the CFL as a tight end, but was converted defensive line back in 2016. Guy's got hands. Then on third and short, Cornelius back in. This time, okay, he doesn't sneak this time. They didn't fool anybody. Gets it for the score. That puts the Elks ahead 14-6. They kept on coming, too. Later in the second quarter, Ford goes deep down the field and once again connects with Dunbar. This play is good for 47 yards, and then we've got 2 plays later. Ford's going to roll out of the pocket, and I'll give you one guess who he finds in the end zone. Yeah, his buddy, Dunbar. They connect again. Elks up 21-6. But keep in mind, they led the Bombers 22-0 last week, and they still lost. So don't hold your breath, Elks fans, because at halftime, the rain starts to come down. There was lightning as well, so this game goes into a delay that lasted over 90 minutes. Could that be just another thing to go wrong for the Elks? Stay warm, boys. Hold on. Second half, Ticats driving. But on second down, Taylor Powell drops back, gets sacked by Jake Cernessa. Pushing back the field goal attempt for Mark Leggio. Tries from 43 yards out, and that's not it. Missed 3 of his first 4 field goals attempts, as well as an extra point attempt. 24-10 is the finals. The Elks get the win. With more, let's head to the panel.
Alongside David Sanchez, Jim Barker, Paul Lapolice, and for the first time since September the 16th, 2022, the Edmonton Elks have a victory. We're saving the confetti, by the way, for when they finally get their home victory. But this is a right step for the Elks, certainly. Overall, building off that game against Winnipeg, that they had the lead going into the half, and then they coughed it up. This time around, they had the lead, they had the weather delay, able to come back in the second half, maintain the lead, end up winning the game, and it started with their QB making his second start this season, Trey Ford.
I don't know what it was. I saw something early, and Trey is, whether it's because he's young or he has fresh legs, only his second start of the year, or just maybe he knew how badly his team needed to win. But Trey was playing at a different speed, and it was evident early the way he was attacking the edges of this Hamilton defense, and you saw it, outrunning linebackers, outrunning angles. You don't see quarterbacks in professional football outrunning defensive backs to get the edge very often. We saw it several times tonight. And then in the pocket, impressed. He was composed. He was making the throws when he needed to with the big shots. And then, you know, finding him and Dunbar had something in the middle of the field, which they worked. So kudos to Jerry S. Jackson for devising a game plan that Trey felt comfortable with, that he was able to, you know, use his legs and also, you know, simplify it for him. But I was really impressed by him and happy for these guys.
I love what the defense did. Multiple sacks. Yeah. Powell did not look like he was comfortable at any time through the course of this football game. You know, they gave up some rushing yards early, but what they didn't do last week, they gave up a bunch of big passes. This week, what'd they do? They kept everything in front. Powell had to throw the checkdowns, the easy throws. I thought the line, you know, really struggled for Hamilton, and certainly Powell held the ball at times. So hats off to those guys in the secondary, because when the quarterback's holding the ball, it's because he can't figure out what's going downfield. So Chris Jones, his staff, really found a way to keep a young quarterback uncomfortable. I know he's under the gun with a lot of things with a new coach and all those different things, Jim, but hats off to this defense of the Elks.
Well, for the Ticats, I wish there was something good we could talk about, but you know, when you miss 3 field goals, you miss a PAT, you have a punt return called back, not 1 penalty, but 2 penalties on the play, and they dropped passes. The quarterback was never able to get settled. He never felt comfortable with his offensive line. Now, James Butler ran the ball very well. They kind of got away from it a little bit in the second half. Again, they scored 1 point in the second half, and that happened to them a few weeks ago when they just couldn't do anything in the second half. So very disappointing coming off of a bye week, coming home, playing a team that hasn't won. They're now 3-6 and tied for the basement in the East. And again, it's not going to get easier for them. They've got Toronto coming up on Labor Day, and you know it's a tough schedule coming in.
Yeah, tough stretch for the Tiger Cats, no doubt. For the Elks, meanwhile, they go back home. Another chance to end this streak, taking on the Ottawa Red Blacks next Sunday. And we'll see if they can carry the momentum from this big win as we send it back to Sports Center.
All right, thank you. Let's head to Hamilton, where Matthew Shinetti is with Trey Ford.
Trey, Matt Dunnigan mentioned it. There's just something about you, your hometown, here at Tim Hortons Field. What kind of vibe do you get when you play on this field?
I don't know, definitely a good one. You know, it's always nice to come out with a win. I mean, I played a couple high school games here back in the day. We were undefeated here too, which was nice. So now I guess I'm 4-0 here, 2-0 pro football. But I mean, I love playing here. I love coming back home. A bunch of fans in the stands. I mean, high school friends, family, everybody's out here, so it's nice.
What was going through your mind during that delay? You guys had the lead last week against Winnipeg. I saw you pacing, doing your activation, stretching in the hallway, but you were still keeping yourself loose. How did you kind of try to push that energy to your teammates?
Yeah, 100%. You always want to try to stay in the game. I mean, those delays, you know, they take a long time. I mean, I don't know if I've ever been in a part of a delay that long, so I mean, it was an adjustment for me. I was just hoping that I was leading by example for my teammates. Hope they see me, you know, putting in a little bit of work to stay ready to get back on the field and execute.
How good does this feel? I mean, there's been so much talk about the losing streak. Kneeling down, knowing it's a win, knowing what's on the scoreboard, how does it feel?
It feels amazing. I mean, I think this is what we needed. We needed one game to turn it around, and I think this one win is definitely going to help, and hopefully we can build from here and just continue to win.
Thanks for this.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
All right, here's a look at what the rest of Week 11 looks like around the CFL with odds courtesy of FanDuel. Drew Brown will start for Winnipeg against Calgary. The Bombers favored by 4.5. Winnipeg has scored 116 points in their last 3 games. Montreal a slight 2.5-point road favorite in Ottawa. The Owls looking for their 4th straight win, though. The Lions favored by 9.5 in Regina. They beat the Riders by 10 points in their first meeting July 22nd.
All right, new on SC. Here's Matthew Shinetti with Stephen Dunbar Jr.
The one thing that I've heard from everyone that I've spoken to inside the Elks locker room is the energy that you've tried to bring during a losing streak. Now that you're done, now that you guys have won a game, how much did that take out of this team, hearing that constantly week in and week out that the Elks had not won a game?
Man, it's tough, man. You know, when you work hard and you come in the building every day and weeks go by, you're trying to fight for it and things just not falling your way. It's tough, but I got a lot of respect for my teammates, man. We kept working. We didn't fall apart. We didn't deviate from the plan. We just kept going. And I'm happy for my guys, man. We work hard for that win. More than that, people even know. A lot of mental strain, a lot of physical strain, a lot of just persistence. So now we just got to build off it.
What's the feeling now, and what do you want your teammates to feel knowing that you have Ottawa next week, and then it's home and away against the Stampeders?
Just to understand how good we can be and just not get complacent with this win, but, feel it a little bit. Understand how it feels to be a winner and get used to it and, expect it. That's what I want for my teammates. That's what I think we should do moving forward, is just expect to win.
How much sweeter is it that you got it here against your former team?
It felt good being back here, man. Being in front of the fans. It's always a special place to me, being at Tim Hortons Field. I got a lot of love for this organization and these fans. So it was great to be back.
Thanks for this.
Yes, love, man. Thank you.